Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel. And Chelsea Football Club have won a game of football. Would you believe that? Would you believe that? We're not getting relegated. No more relegation talk. We scored 3 goals. I'll actually have to watch the Joao Felix goal back still because I saw it live, and then I was like having to change all the titles, and I was doing my own thumbnail today, so I was like all over the bloody shop. So as we're talking, I will take a look back at that to actually know exactly how it happened. I just remember Sterling doing a great run and Joao Felix having a good tapping. But oh my days, I am outrageously too far over the moon. I know, we are Chelsea Football Club. I should not be this happy about beating Bournemouth, but I bloody am. We haven't won since March 11th. This is our first win since March 11th. It's May 6th. We've not won for nearly 2 months. We have 42 points. Oh my God. I can't even explain how ecstatic I am. I am so pleased. And to make it even better, we are joined by Pies. Bro, we won the game of football. Can you believe it?
I cannot believe it, bro. I'm so gassed. I should be more gassed than I should be. Like, I don't know what's happening. We scored 3 goals. We won 3-1. There was a lot of moments during the game where I thought, yeah, we're going to lose this again. And, you know, I think about the 70th minute, I was like, yeah, I think we're going to lose because Bournemouth were on top. I thought we was doing really bad. And then all of a sudden, to be fair, like the subs came on and we did a lot better. We got some goals. So, yeah, I'm just delighted we can now like rest and just, you know, hopefully take some momentum, you know. Let's get another win. Why not?
Exactly. 2 wins on the bounce. Who would have thought that? I mean, we're definitely not winning any of the last 3 games, let's be honest. But, you know, let's be happy with what we've got for now. We should also be joined by Mo soon. He did tell me he's ready to come on. Then I sent him the link and he hasn't come on yet. So I don't know what's happening. But I'm sure he will be here any minute soon. But, my God, and you touched on it there, like us in the group chat, I was tweeting it as well. Like, I've had enough with these ridiculous substitutions, and then all the subs made everything happen. Ziyech gets the assist for the 2-1, Sterling gets the assist for the 3-1, Joao Felix scores the 3-1. What a time to be alive, Mo. It must be because of you. First time I've had you on the stream in God knows how long, and we win a game of football. We're not getting relegated. We've got 42 points. What a day to be alive, no?
Bro, we're actually staying up. I can't believe this.
Oh,
bro, I watched
so
that
bad
game.
And we're celebrating this random win so hard,
It's
but
so
bro,
bad. Do you know what's crazy? It's when you watch a game and you're like, we didn't even deserve to win. Like, you just watched the game, you're like, we didn't even play that well.
I mean, maybe ever
like,
so slightly, but you know, not clearly for sure.
I can't believe it, bro. I like that first half finished there, and I was like, I don't know how we're still in this game. We look worse for having scored. And I'm like, I've seen this story before. This is only leading one way. And I'm like, let me brace myself for the second half. We're definitely losing. Second half begins. I'm like, yep, we're going to be fighting for the rest of for this game at this point. If we get a draw, we're going to have to be happy with that somehow. Find the positives from it. But freaking hell, bro, we actually managed to make substitutions and have a positive impact on the game. Bro, what the hell am I supposed to do right now? I don't even know how to respond to this.
Idea. Mate, it's mental. And this ref, by the way, he was also mental. First, he books Mudryk for a dive, which was never a dive. No, it wasn't a foul either. I'm not claiming it was a foul, but it wasn't a dive. He never asked for free kicks. How can it be a dive, man? Do you know what I mean? Just, it's okay to fall over. It doesn't mean you dive, right? But then I think Kante should have had a second yellow card. Easy. That should have been a sending off, quite frankly. And Thiago Silva, if that tackle, I mean, my commentator was saying it was a clear Stonewall penalty after the replay. I'm not quite as convinced as my commentator was, but yeah, we kind of got away with it a little bit as well. I'm not saying it's Stonewall second yellow for Kante either, but it could have been, and it could have been a pen. And on another day, all of a sudden, one thing leads to another. We're down to 10 men, 2-1 down, and God knows what happens. But instead, we won the game, and like you touched on, Mo, the subs is what changed. And honestly, the subs is what changed. It's maybe slightly an exaggeration, but the subs are what, in the end, produced the win.
They impacted positively, yeah.
Exactly. And honestly, when the subs happened, I wasn't particularly happy with many of them. Now, Mudryk wasn't great, so I understood taking him off. But after the last few weeks, I didn't think Sterling deserved to come on. And I'm like, well, how often did you leave Sterling on the pitch? Why not give Mudryk a chance to stay on the pitch for once? How about that? But then Sterling's run for the assist for the 3-1 was wonderful. So, it's just the best proof that, unfortunately, players are not always shit and players are not always good. That's unfortunately life. And people are way too quick, and that includes myself, by the way, way too quick to say, he's awful or he's great. Sometimes it goes another way. These guys made it to Chelsea Football Club. all of these guys are good to a certain level. And it's just about whether they turn up or not. And that's what makes them great, whether they turn up consistently or not, right?
We can all agree, like, this season has been a catastrophic failure. Like, on so many different levels, there are so many players like underperforming. But despite how bad we are, I think we can all look at these players and say they're way better than what we're seeing. Day in, day out, we have literally watched these players come into matches, not look up for it, not fighting for the game. And sometimes they've actually outplayed the opponents, but luck is not on their side. They can't add the finishing touches, which at the end of the day, that's what a game is judged on. Your ability to score as a team. And we have been absolutely awful in front of goal. So bad. I think today, the fact that we've scored 3 goals, I had to ask myself, when was the last time I seen 3 goals? And I think the last one I remember was against Leicester City. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, and that was
the
also
last game
our
I
last
remember.
win.
Yeah, and it's shocking, but I'm like, the players are not this bad, guys. For me, the lack of confidence, whatever the atmosphere is behind the scenes, clearly is having an impact, because they're not this bad. They are surely not this bad. And I think you need a manager that can bring ideas together that these players fully understand how to apply on the pitch. And we definitely need to start actually getting a first 11. For almost 3 seasons now, we have the same conversation about us not having an established 11. Look at some of the best performing sides in this league. What you can guarantee is more than likely they have an established first 11, and then they build on from there as a squad, and they have players that can impact from the bench. We don't even have the fundamental to say we have a starting 11 that we can trust. We generally don't know who we can
do
trust.
have a squad of over 30 players.
Yeah, that's it. And that's what's crazy. It's the bloated squad has definitely struck us, and I'm just happy we won. I think it's nice to see that the players can actually put something together, even if we're not deserving from a performance perspective. And like you said, you pointed out a few moments where things could have completely gone against us and we'd have been having a different conversation entirely. But it's nice to see that when we do try, like, bro, I couldn't believe Raheem Sterling made that run, made the pass to Felix. Felix on first touch doesn't hit another player with his shot, goes straight into the back of net. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell just happened? Like, that's how much in disbelief we are.
What this is, but oh, bro, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And before we get even into the player ratings themselves, right? Special shout out to Noni Madueke. I know he didn't get an assist or a goal today, but my guy tried his socks off today. And, sometimes we say tried their socks off about, like, Gallagher. And shout out to him. He scored, but was pretty dreadful otherwise. But Madueke, my God, the kid tries. Now, not everything was amazing when he took that shot from, the tight angle and just blasted it into the side. And I'm like, what are you doing? But the way he goes past people, the way he's confident, the way he just keeps trying, no matter if he fails once, loses the ball once, he just keeps going and trying. And he's strong, he's quick, he's confident. Love it. Big fan. Why did it take for him to get this game time? I don't know. But I guess it's better late than never. Pice, I'll come back to you. Like I said, before we even get to the player ratings, shout out for Madueke. Now, I know he didn't score us any of the goals that won us the game, but I still think, especially with that, because so many fans only ever look at goal scorers and stuff like that, I still think it's hugely important to talk about Madueke and give him his deserved individual praise.
Yeah, I've just seen a stat as well. Apparently, Madueke has completed more successful take-ons 21 than any other Chelsea player in 2023 so far. He's only played 382 minutes. That's crazy if that's true. But yeah, I mean, he was great. I think, he can definitely improve his end product in terms of, I think when he was getting to the byline, I think a lot of the time he wasn't necessarily picking the right decision, a few really bad crosses, but, he's definitely got so much talent in there. And, it's 1v1, he's a scary player. He's going inside, outside today. He was kind of mixing it up. And, I'm really happy. I think he's been our best player the last 2 games. And I wanted to see him start again. I was a bit worried he was going to get injured, to be fair, when he went down. I was thinking, that's the one thing when we signed him. I was like, he looks like a great talent, but look at his injury record. We went over it on the stream. His injury record is really bad for someone so young. But, if he can stay injury-free and get, some proper coaching, hopefully, as well, now that we've won, hopefully we're mathematically safe. Hopefully we can actually announce Poch now, because
but don't waste the good news, right? Someone in the chat said announce him today. I'm like, hold up, we won't have that many more good days this season. Yeah, let's have today just be good because we won, and maybe tomorrow, maybe Monday, then announce Poch. But let's not overdo it, okay? Like,
yeah, I mean,
get our good days out, please.
yeah. Today's a good day, beating Bournemouth as well. Like people say, it's only Bournemouth. Like we could hardly beat these guys during our best season.
Yeah, exactly. We
it's
could win
even
the league
that.
and still lose to
Exactly.
Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I mean, we had Hazard and lost 4-0. So you know,
Yeah, there you go.
yeah,
Exactly that. My
quite
God.
happy.
And I thought today would be awful. My day started by me, well, I think, breaking my little toe. It's bloody as blue as the Chelsea kit. So I thought it would have an awful day. Turns out we're winning a game. I don't even care about my toe anymore. Who gives a shit? My God. Yeah, I can't even believe it. And I don't know what we're going to do about these stats today because, like Mo said, I mean, Pice, do you agree with what Mo said earlier in terms of that, you know, if you are harsh about it, if you are critical of the whole thing, like we didn't necessarily deserve to win. Would you agree with that? So I'm very intrigued where we're going to go with our player ratings.
Yeah, I think it was, you know, it would have been fair if it was a draw, to be honest with you. I thought I don't know, I thought we played miles better than Arsenal, of course. You know, we did control a lot of the possession. And we was getting in more dangerous areas more often than not. I think we started the second half well as well. I think about 45th to about the 55th minute. So that first 10 minutes we started well. You know, Bournemouth hardly had the ball. But then there was that period between like 55 and just after 70 where Bournemouth came back into it and they had a lot of attacks. There was that switch over to the left-hand side, which Kepa did a really good save from. Madueke as well.
Did well as well to put the
his tracking back today. I was going to say his tracking back was insane, bro. Like, honestly, his tracking back was really, really good. So that was good to see. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we deserved to win, but we took our chances.
You're not quite, but
oh, it was so embarrassing that our fans were singing that. By the way, I was like, "Can you stop?" Like, I know
at the same time, you've got to embrace it. I mean, like,
sometimes exactly. I was about to say the same, man. Like
it's funny, but I was like, "Can we just stop now?" Like, it's getting a bit mad.
Yeah, I get you. I'm torn on it. On the one hand, I agree with what you're saying. On the other hand, I'm like, bro, we've had so much misery. Just celebrate what there is to celebrate. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, it was so bad at one point, Arsenal way, literally, when we scored that goal, everybody checked the same thing. Is it offside? And then as soon as we know it definitely wasn't offside, we scored a goal. Like literally everybody like we just saying the same thing. And it's like you already know what you're saying.
Well, first time of watching it, right?
But you don't care anymore. You're like, we're that bad. Like it can't get any worse than this.
Like I genuinely people might think, well, I'm like bantering or whatever. I genuinely can't believe we actually won. Like I can't believe it. My God. I'm just getting the lineup up on screen in a second for you guys. Just going to type it up on the screen. But Mo, I'll start with you. What did you make of the lineup? Because I'm not obviously sure because I don't talk to you all the time. So I'm not 100% sure if you necessarily always agree with myself and a lot of the guys on these streams. But we were very unhappy with pretty much all of their lineups Frank Lampard had picked thus far. Today was better, even though I still had a few issues where I'm like, why is Chukwuemeka not on the bench? Why did Aspie come on a left back rather than Lewis Hall? But in general, other than Chukwuemeka not being in the squad, and I still find it a bit pointless that Ziyech is in the squad instead of Pulisic, but then Ziyech, assisted the 2-1, so fair play to him. Otherwise, I thought this was certainly the best lineup from what we've gotten so far, even if it was still not perfect in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, in the last two, I mean, I'll go back to the Arsenal one for a second. Before that Arsenal game, I have been pretty much unhappy with every lineup that Frank Lampard picked. I didn't like the way we were set up. I didn't like the plays that he picked in certain positions. I just felt like it wasn't a coherent lineup that actually would complement each other well on the pitch, and it showed. Like there was aspects of it where we could do maybe stuff on transition, but other than that, keeping the ball, actually being able to play and not being scared of having the ball, all those different things for me just felt very suspect to watch on the pitch. I think what was actually quite worrying, if I'm honest with you, is that when I watched us against Arsenal, I could see it coming from.
What happened now? Don't know if your connection screwed up, but otherwise you'd be gone. So I don't know what was, what he could see all along from Arsenal. I'm sure he'll be back in a second. That's the weirdest malfunction I've ever seen. Mo, you're back. You're still muted.
No, my voice. Yeah. Okay, now I'm back. Sorry.
No idea what happened. Anyway, what did you see coming at Arsenal?
The Arsenal game, I felt we were cocky. When I saw our lineup, I said, how the hell are we matching them up 4-3-3 when I know for a fact this is the type of game where we're playing away to them. We definitely are not as confident as them as a team in terms of just how we are actually on the pitch together. And then all of a sudden, I was just like, yo, like Frank Lampard's having a laugh with this one because I do think it's going to backfire. And it unfortunately did. Today, however, I was like, you know what? This is the first time that I'm like, I can look at the starting lineup and not be too freaking like pissed off about it. I'm like, you know what? It's a decent lineup. It's a way to Bournemouth. It can still definitely do something. I'm definitely aligned with you in the sense that the younger players that we know are part of our future, like your Chukwuemekas, like your Lewis Halls, like your Dacho Fofanas, etc. I want to see them on the bench. If anything, I want them to be the players that come on the pitch at some point because we've got nothing to play for at this point. Yeah. That's where I definitely feel I think all Chelsea fans are aligned. We're now wanting to see what is the future looking like for us, and having to watch a Hakim Ziyech or any of these players for me just wouldn't work right now. So hopefully we're able to kind of get to a point where we start picking out players generally based on what they're going to offer to the club going forward, rather than just picking players because we're trying to keep them happy. Fair play to Hakim Ziyech, but he's not part of our future. I don't see why we're giving him minutes. And
today it worked, right? Because he got an assist, could have had another one for that Havertz cross. Even though I on the first replay, I thought the cross took a deflection, which would then explain the weird header. But yeah, but in general, I absolutely agree on Ziyech. And this is the problem, right? This is exactly my problem with it, because Ziyech is not necessarily a bad player. No one's ever said that he's a bad footballer. It didn't really work out for him at Chelsea, but he's always had a wonderful left foot. Like, he's an absolute, like, there's very few players ever that had a better left foot than Hakim Ziyech. Like, there's not that many, really. But the point is that we all know Ziyech will leave, that Ziyech should leave. And now we played him, gave him that moment. So now all the fans are going to be like, no, you need to start Ziyech. He was great last game, helped us turn the game around. And Frank Lampard will think the same. Maybe he won't start him because Madueke was also great. But this is the point of when you do give players who are factually going to leave. Like, say Aubameyang scored 2 goals against Arsenal. Okay, amazing that he would have done that and he would have been great. But at the end of the day, all that would have meant is that there was a small chance that something changed in terms of who leaves, who doesn't leave, who is picked, who is not picked for next season, for the end of the season. And this is why I'm so scared of all these, like, when you know a player will leave, then you use him anyway. That's always an issue. That's always scary. But hey, we needed the result so badly. I'm not going to complain about it today. Pies, what were your thoughts on the lineup? Other than Chukwuemeka not being in the squad, reasonably happy with it, or many complaints still?
With the lineup, no, the only one I thought maybe was wrong was maybe Gallagher. I would have, but in the end of the day, he scored a goal. So, it's kind of proved us wrong today. I was very unhappy with the subs and they did well. So, a little bit of humble pie today. And move on. But yeah, no, I think to be honest though, just on that, like the subs, I think everyone was unhappy, even the Chelsea fans were booing. So it's not like.
Did I get all the subs on screen, by the way, or did I forgot one? Did we make 5? Of course, Felix for Havertz. My bad.
Yeah, so I think it wasn't just me. A lot of fans were unhappy, especially with the Aspi one. Like, just play Lewis Hall, man. Like,
especially because the camera panned to Lewis Hall warming up instantly as Chile got in.
Yeah, it's just
literally. It's the most obvious sub as well.
It's a scared substitution, I
had 1-1 as well. I guess he really wanted that point.
Yeah, I mean, for me,
or was it 2-1 at that point?
It was 1-1, I think.
Let me check.
Well, when we put on,
it was 1-1.
Are you talking about when we put on Aspi?
Yeah.
And I can check for us. I believe we put Aspi on in the.
Yeah, just before we made it 2-1.
75th minute?
Yeah,
and in 82nd, we made it 2-1. There you go.
Exactly, yeah.
So I think the rest of the lineup is pretty much what we predicted, to be fair.
The problem is, in this, like, let's pretend 4-3-3 is what we have to do. If Chukwuemeka isn't on the bench, I don't even know who I'd much rather than Gallagher. Now, sure, Kovacic, I guess, but Kovacic has been so bad recently that I'm like, I mean, maybe for you it's a bit different, Price, because you love Kovacic so much. But for me, it's like, whether it's Gallagher or Kovacic, I'm not even that bothered. So if Chukwuemeka isn't even in the squad, then I'm like, who else would I play rather than Gallagher as an 8 anyway? I mean, for me, obviously, Ruben and R8. For me, my day is even better. Ruben came on for the first time since Frank came back. Not sure how much he really did, but he wasn't bad, so he didn't do anything wrong. So that's great. But Shall we get into these player ratings, boys? And ladies and gentlemen, by the way, we have nearly 350 people watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. That'd be massively appreciated. Let me know in the chat what you thought, and obviously play along with us as we talk through the ratings. Leave your ratings as we talk about each individual player down in the chat as well. And hit the like button. Helps me spread these streams out to more people. That helps content creators grow. So I'd really appreciate that. Just one click of a button doesn't cost you any money or any time. If we wouldn't have won today, I was genuinely contemplating. I'm not even doing Kepa ratings anymore because they genuinely piss me off. And I tweeted even like, it was Kepa at fault for this goal as well, because he clearly wasn't. It was like that's obviously now we won. We can laugh about it, but was it their left back? Right, that's good. How on earth does he? How on earth the opponents, teams like Bournemouth, the left back of Bournemouth, I think it was the left back anyway, someone correct me if it wasn't. Why do they always hit the top corner? Like, regardless of Kepa being too short or not, it doesn't even matter. How often do we shoot? Like, it doesn't matter which of our players. I've seen Enzo shoot, I've seen Mudryk shoot, I've seen Madueke shoot, I've seen all of them shoot, right? Not one of them get a ball anywhere near the top.
It's always these random players like that just score bangs. Like I tell you what, Enciso for Brighton looks really good, but I've watched Brighton's last 2 games. He's hit about 10 shots and they've all gone like hard off the ground. Yeah. Bro, how? Like, why is it always us? Exactly. Like, fucking pisses me off.
It's so weird. I assume we're all in agreement that Kepa can't save that one. I hope so anyway, because that.
Yeah. I don't even blame Kepa for it, if I'm honest.
Exactly. But otherwise, he made that one good save that Pies touched on earlier. He made that one good save where he basically did the splits at the touchline to stop the cutback. That was good. But other than those two, I didn't really notice that much. To be what he looked quite good at today, even if it was still quite nervy, just because it's Kepa. We're not used to him being any good at this. But he came for a lot of the corners and punched them away quite well, pretty much all of them. So that was pretty nice. Other than one where he got a free kick, which was never a free kick, never a foul in my opinion. But anyway, took it. But I still don't think he did enough to get a 6. But to get more than a 6. But I think a 6 is still pretty fair. Made a couple of decent saves. Didn't do anything wrong. So I would say 6. Mo, would you agree?
Yeah. I don't think he did anything extraordinary. I also don't think he did anything wrong this game. So it's one of those average games where I'm just like, hey, man, you did okay. You did your job. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, maybe I could push a 6.5, but I think a 6 is pretty fair. Pies, what about you? Would you agree with a 6? Would you maybe push a 6.5? What would you say?
Yeah, I would give him a 6.5. I thought he did pretty decent from corners today, and I think that save puts him a little bit ahead. I think it was a really good save to his near post.
Mate, I experienced so much Kepa slander on this stream. I'm gonna take every 0.5 that I can get. So
I've been critical with Kepa's long shots, but that one was just like a beautiful strike. Like, it's not saving that. Like,
especially because it's from the angle, right? So he has to cover the near post. How can he possibly be at the far post? No possible. But at least we all seem to be in agreement of that. Although I'm sure if I scroll Twitter for long enough, I will find a couple that blame him anyway. So
I think I saw a couple people questioning his positioning. Which I need to look back, but
then if the guy smashes it at the near post, they will be like, "Why are you not at the near post?" People just have no idea when they talk about goalkeeper positioning today. Let's be honest. Neither do I will be honest, but I feel like no one else does either. Hey, here we are. Shall we move to the centre backs, Pies? I'll start with you. Did you think the Thiago Silva, let's call it a tackle, was a foul and should have been a pen?
No, I didn't. I didn't think it was a penalty. He didn't get the ball, but he didn't
surely
also.
If he doesn't get the ball, it's a penalty.
No, because he didn't touch Solanke. Solanke just put it in front of him.
Yeah.
So for me, that's not a penalty. Like, you've got to touch the player. He didn't make contact with Solanke, so I don't think it's a penalty.
But Thiago Silva's foot tried to play the ball, right? So if Solanke played the ball first, then Thiago Silva must have hit Solanke's foot after. No, that's what I thought anyway.
I didn't see him make contact with him at all, personally.
Okay, that's interesting then. Let's take it to the first goal though. As much as obviously the fact that it came from our corner in the first place, then Kante's stupid tackle, getting himself booked, but then he got himself booked, and the rest of the team is like, oh yeah, the opponent have a free kick, let's try not to defend. And then Thiago Silva just storms out, misses the ball by like miles, and then Badiashile has to try and cover for Thiago Silva, but kind of overcommits, because he kind of had to storm over so quickly that when the Bournemouth player took the little turn, Badiashile couldn't turn around quickly enough, and then he just had all the space in the world to shoot. And I'm like, Thiago, what are you doing? I'll get to Mo in a second in terms of the penalty this debate. And you know what? I might even make it a poll in the chat. But Pice, I assume you probably agree that he didn't do exactly great on that first goal. So even if you don't think it was a penalty, what rating would you then give Thiago Silva overall, bro?
Probably a 5.5, maybe. I think he was. Yeah, probably a 5.5. I don't think he was his best today, personally.
Right, 5.5. We'll start with that. Mo, I get to you. First of all, penalty. Did you think it was a penalty? Did you not? And then obviously speak about the first goal and then his overall rating.
And honestly, I'd seen only the replay that we watched in the match. I haven't since then gone back to watch it. In that moment, instinctively, I didn't think it was a penalty. And even when I did see the VAR replay, I still felt like it wasn't a penalty and the right call was made. So again, maybe I may have to rewatch it again and I might change my mind. But at the time, for me, the way I kind of looked at it was exactly what Pai said. And I felt like it would have been a harsh penalty to give. And just because I feel like Solanke anticipated it and was actually trying to play for the penalty rather than trying to attempt to take the shot or try and actually play the ball. But yeah, I personally, from my perspective, based on what I saw as I was watching the match, I didn't think it was a penalty. The second question in regards to just the goal, and I felt like that was it's very unlike Thiago Silva. Thiago Silva is very good at anticipating.
He didn't defend like a 38-year-old. He defended like a 20-year-old there, didn't he?
Yeah, it just felt very naive. And I'd never really associate these types of wording with him. But when I saw it, I was just like, Thiago Silva, what the hell are you doing, bro? You're not the DM. You're not supposed to be where you are supposed to be. And I think that goal was something that could have been avoided had Thiago Silva stuck to his area of the pitch. And I felt like it was quite interesting watching him this game. I was disappointed by his performance, if I'm honest. This is the one time where I felt like he wasn't vocal enough. He wasn't as calm as I'd like him to be. He showed maybe moments of it, but usually he sticks out like a sore thumb as the guy that is the calmness, the composure, and the leadership of the team. And I felt like he was lacking in those areas today. So from a ratings perspective, I feel like 5.5 for how much I rate him would be very high, because I felt like he under-delivered.
I would go a lot lower than that.
Yeah, I would go for a 4 out of 10 today, because I just didn't feel like that was his standard. That was not good enough, in my opinion.
Fair dues. Let me just highlight this message here. So Stefan Mühlbacher, good old Steve, good mate of mine. He used to work as a referee. He's now a referee supervisor. So now he might not be from England, but I mean, I do sometimes disagree with him, because I feel like he just loves a foul. Don't you, Steve? I feel like you do love a foul. Now, I put the poll in the chat. Obviously, get involved, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to, in terms of was it a penalty or was it not. So far, the no is winning, but I guess we are Chelsea fans, so that would happen. I gave a yes and no and an unsure. I would probably just about lean in the unsure category, even though I will say after the 2-3 replays that we got during the game, I did think there was contact, unlike Pice. If I thought there wasn't contact, fair enough, well, then why are you falling over? But... It didn't. I don't. Why would Solanke fall over? What would make him fall over, right? Because he touched the ball. It might have been a great touch, but he touched the ball. How does he fall over without contact? And he clearly didn't dive. I think. Well, I don't know if everyone agrees, but I didn't think he looked like he dived. So for me, either Thiago gets the ball first, or he didn't, and it looked like he didn't. So I would probably lean more yes towards a penalty, but I'd still stick with unsure. I will say that if the referee on the pitch gave a penalty straight away, I don't think VAR overturned it to not being a penalty. But it was probably one of those. Also, probably one of those where the replays maybe weren't quite as clear. I mean, you saw it there. Pai said, did he even touch Solanke? Some people said, no, he touched the ball. I would say, no, Solanke touched the ball, but then Thiago Silva touched Solanke. So all of those kind of question marks is probably why VAR never changed the decision. But yeah, no, there you go. I mean, for my Thiago Silva rating, I mean, I won't be too harsh on a penalty, like I said, because I'm not 100% sure. But the first goal, what is he doing? I'm sorry. What is he doing? I mean, that was just dreadful. And like I say, the penalty as well. If we don't win this game, I don't even think Pice gives Thiago Silva a 5.5, and Thiago Silva had nothing to do with us winning this game. So, if anything, he was one of the main reasons why we were close to not winning the game. I think I was going to give him like a 3, and I thought even that is slightly pushing it, because if we don't win, the chat is at our case if we give anyone higher than a 4 in the whole game again, other than Madueke, obviously. So I probably would have said 3. I'll be perfectly honest, guys. So that gives us a 3, a 4, and a 5.5. You know what? I won't even mess around and do my speculative calculation. I just use the calculator. 3 plus 4 plus 5.5 divided by 3 makes 4.16. So I guess that gives him a 4. Sorry, Pites, that we seemingly quite drastically disagree on Thiago's rating here. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, his stats definitely don't say so.
Somehow we ended up at my score. That's fair.
But but the stats don't mean anything. If he's at fault for the 1 goal we conceded, mainly at fault, and
I think Badiashile was mainly at fault. I think he got skinned too easily.
Yeah, but he only was there because Thiago Silva left his position storming out for no reason. Otherwise, Badiashile is the left centre-back. So it shouldn't have been Badiashile there. He only was there because Thiago left his spot.
I do have a criticism for Badiashile in that goal.
No, absolutely. Badiashile didn't do amazing either. But if we're picking a main culprit, then obviously it has to be the guy that forces another guy out of position first.
Did you expect the goal to come from there, though?
Sorry?
I think that's, I don't know. I think it was obviously... I don't think you expected a goal to come from there. So I think focusing in on that specific situation is a bit harsh.
Yeah, but it's still, if the centre-back pushes out, misses the ball, and therefore leaves a gap in the back 4, therefore the other centre-back needs to push over. That just creates gaps in front of the goals that you don't want. And that's why they scored, because there was all of a sudden space in front of our goal, which there shouldn't have been and wouldn't have been if Thiago Silva didn't storm out. That's at least how I see it. I mean, at the end of the day,
also asked why though he did storm out. There was not really.
I mean, he tried to tackle the ball and he just didn't get it.
I know, but our midfield structure again, I think was terrible.
Absolutely, no, absolutely, and I agree with that. And I think Chalobah should have done better. Enzo should have done better. But I don't even know where Kante was, because it was on his side and I didn't really see him, so I have no idea where he was really. But most certainly they should have done better as well. But the midfield doesn't concede a goal. The defense allowing space is what concedes the eventual goal, right? But hey, I mean, if you obviously want to criticize Badiashile mainly for that, that's okay, and then we will have another split on Badiashile, and that's fine. But yeah, there you go. Like I say, the penalty one is, some people will say clear, some people will say no, some people will, like me, maybe be a bit unsure. I don't know, but yeah, let's move on and get to big Benoit Badiashile. Oh, I'm a big fan of him. I'm a big fan of him. First of all, he looked like he injured himself in the first half. And then, honestly, even in the second half, when he was walking up to a corner, not the corner free kick that he scored from was a free kick, but still, he still looked like he wasn't really walking perfectly smoothly. So I'm not sure if he did pick up a small injury and just kept playing anyway. But yeah, outside of, like you touched on, Pice, even though I think Silva is the main guy to be at fault, still think he overcommitted when trying to cover for Thiago Silva and let the guy pass them way too easily. So that is obviously something to deduct points for. But the goal, not the best goal in the world, but, it's still somewhat acrobatic, high in the air, gets his foot up, puts enough power on it too. Even though the keeper had hands on it, he had put enough power on it so the keeper couldn't keep it out. And the 3-1 obviously sealed it, but the 2-1 is really what won us the game. So huge goal, huge goal. So happy for him. I mean, Pice, we were talking about this so many times, why is he not playing and how he should be playing and stuff. We didn't really expect him to play instead of Fofana all of a sudden, but Fofana has a small hamstring issue, isn't drastic. It was more precaution according to Lampard. So probably be back for the next game. We'll see. But yeah, I was very, very happy for him. I'm going to deduct half a point for the goal, but I will still, with the goal that he did score, still don't know if we were amazing enough overall for me to still give him a 7 I must still give him a 7, even though with the mistake he made, because otherwise I might have gone 7.5. Because I did think also without scoring a goal, he was probably above average, because I thought in general he dealt with things quite well. And every time I watch the guy play, pretty much every time, I'm not even sure if even on that kind of what I'm about to talk about, I've seen him struggle. His passing and the way he just beats a press and is composed when he's under pressure is so impressive, and it's one of my favorite things about him. Now, if he got unlucky, could have maybe also been sent off, if I'm honest, because he, not with his, first leg that he was sliding in with, but with the kind of trailing leg, he kind of absolutely clattered the standing leg of the Bournemouth player. And Joao Felix got a red for less, I will say that. But even I didn't think Joao Felix should have got a red, so I guess it's one of those. But 7, 6.5 maybe, but I'm gonna say 7 for now. Pice, what would you give him? I know you maybe say he was mainly at fault for the goal for you. But the goal was still huge that he scored, right?
Yeah, I thought he was going to go a bit higher, to be honest. I was going to go with 7 myself. I just think, like, it's not like that deep that he just got, it was at fault. I think he just got turned too easily, I think. But as I said, like, that whole sequence, like, for me, it's not even like, I just think it was a screamer. Like, yeah, they were close to our box, but there's so many situations that happen like that and don't end up in goals, is what I was trying to say. So
that's what I mean, though, right? That's exactly the point. The only reason why the guy can score a screamer is because he had enough space, and he only had enough space because one of our players ran away, basically. Let's not argue over this one goal over and over and over again. It's pointless. We clearly have different opinions. It's fine. But did you then think Badiashile overcommitted in trying to cover for Thiago, and then the guy just ran past him? Or how did you see what Badiashile did wrong?
Well, he tried to go in for I think he thought the guy was going to go like down the line almost, and then, but then he obviously turned, and then Badiashile just like his body position, he just got sent the wrong way, and obviously he hit it with his other foot, and it went in. So, yeah, I just think he got skinned, turned, whatever you want to say, shifted.
Yeah, no, fair enough. What am I seeing here? Yannick, by the way, he kept sending long balls to nowhere. Well, his long ball completion rate is 6 out of 9, so. It was maximum 3 that he did that for. And I'm like, I'd much rather someone plays a long ball. And at some point, once the forwards actually realize, okay, these defenders are going to play a long ball, they start making runs. Because that's our whole problem. We have these fast wingers and attackers who one of their best attributes would be making runs in behind and then using their pace. But because no one ever plays long balls, they all stop making runs. So when there is a player that will regularly play long balls, and also those kind of ones, because Enzo plays a lot of long balls, but not really the through long balls with as much power and pace. Like Enzo uses them more to switch play, which is also great. I'm not trying to criticize Enzo for that. But I like that from Badiashile, even though the completion rate wasn't amazing. But for long balls to have 6 out of 9, I don't think that's something to criticize about, if I'm honest. But yeah, Pies, you sticking with the 7 that you initially went with, yeah?
Yeah, I just saw something really weird. I mean, I know it's a different score, but in 2015-16, we played Bournemouth away towards the end of the season with a white kit. We won 4-1. Today we won 3-1. Yeah. Obviously, translation between the seasons. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's true.
That's kind of weird.
Hey, it was a good pick-me-up game back then as well, I will say.
Yeah, it was.
It really was. Well, finish the Badiashile rating off for us. What did you think? Who did you think was mostly at fault potentially for the goal? Like, do you think it could also be Badiashile? And then what would you rate him overall for the performance?
And I felt like it was more Thiago Silva for me. I think Badiashile for me, this game was and showed a lot more the character that I would like to see our centre backs have in terms of just being open to just not necessarily playing the safe passes, but also trying to find some way to make something happen. So the half spaces, the balls in behind for like Chilwell that he attempted, and little things like that for me always go a long way, because like you said, once those habits are something that the attackers get latch on to, it can lead to us being able to create chances. I think a good example to give here would be someone like Dunk or Colwill when they tried to find Mitoma for Brighton. It's such an ongoing thing they do. You'll see that in every game at least 4 to 5 times. That's how much and how often that they rely on those types of passes to just break through a team. And I think for us, it's nice to see that Badiashile is not only willing to do those types of passes, but even when he does get it wrong, it's not phasing him. He's still trying to find that composure. He's still trying to do the right things. And I'm always encouraged by his performances. This is, again, somebody that's young, somebody that I think, although he has a lot of experience of game time in France, I think with more game time, with good coaching, can be one of our standing players in the future that we can be really reliant on. And I am really encouraged by the performance today. So I would give him a 7 as well. And I think the only criticism I have for him during that goal was that, and I expected him to close down the player, but Pius said something really key there, where pretty much it looked like the play was going to go out wide. And then just that little touch to come back onto his other foot completely threw him off. So
yeah, exactly. That's what I meant when I say he overcommitted. Do you know what I mean? Because he was so kind of set in stone that the guy was going to go wide, and then he was like chasing him because someone needed to get there, and then the guy turned, and Badiashile was like, "Fuck."
Yeah, exactly that. And I think that's the only criticism I had for him. If he closed that guy down a little bit quicker, whether he does try to turn, whether he does try to go out wide, because you're closer to him, you force his hand a lot more rather than where there was a little bit of space. That space is exactly what allowed him to maneuver it to his other foot and be able to still have the time to take that shot. So that's the only criticism. Otherwise, I thought he had a really decent game. And in fact, for me, he was the positive out of the back line.
I agree. Especially with that last sentiment. Absolutely. Let's move on to Trevor Chalobah. Playing at right back today, you can see that he's a centre back when he gets into those offensive positions. He tries making those runs and getting himself involved. But I mean, the guy just can't cross. But at the same time, he's a centre back that's playing right back. Of course, he's not going to be great at crossing. He's a centre back. How often has he crossed in his life? Do you know what I mean? But I'm not going to be too harsh because obviously he's still playing out of position. I think that should be factored into the situation. I don't think he was awful, but I don't think he was amazing either. I would probably... I mean, he was kind of part of obviously the goal, I suppose. He got also that made look a little bit silly by Richie once in the second half. Unfortunately, thankfully, he blasted it over after. I'm thinking like 5.5, 6 is about the realm. I'm thinking. What about you, Mo? Would you be okay with that? Would you maybe go below average? What would you say?
I don't want to be harsh. This is the problem sometimes, isn't it? Like when I see Asby there, I am so angry because I know what type of player he is. He does not make the right passes. He holds onto the ball too long. Today, for me, Madueke had a lot more of a better game as a result of Chalobah continuously going forward and passing that ball to him. That, for me, although very small part of what I expect from that position in particular, for me was key in allowing Madueke to express himself the way that he did. I felt like defensively, he didn't really put much wrong for me. I didn't really feel too worried about him. I felt like he was a safe pair of hands for us in that sense. Like we picked the right player and he didn't cause issues for the team. From that perspective alone, I'm leaning more towards 5-6. But I'm gonna go say 5.5 just to be fair on here because I do want more from these types of players. When you're playing at football at fullback or even wing back, my biggest thing is I need as much attacking output as I do defensive output, and I think the attacking part he's lacking in that area, and I'd like to see more from him. But then again, when you realize that's not his actual area, he did a decent job, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah. I think you make a good point. I think maybe if he was a traditional right back and he played the way he did today, I would maybe more think 4.5, probably 5. And you give it maybe another 0.5 because for him, it is playing out of position. I think that's about fair. I'm probably going to agree. Pies, would you agree as well? Or how did you see Chalobah playing right back today?
I thought he did all right, to be fair. I think average. Couple of times, though, he did leave his position. I think, Madueke, obviously your job as a winger is obviously tracking back if possible.
Yeah.
But I felt like Madueke tracked back or had to track back way too much. Like he was in the box. Like where was Chalobah on that shot that the guy took where Kepa saved later on?
It's a good question. I've no idea.
It was Madueke. I was sure it was like Chalobah in his position. It was actually Madueke on the replay. I was like, what the hell? Why is he the right back? Like. So yeah. I don't know.
I'm not sure if you guys felt this as well, but I did sometimes feel that we kind of in build up kind of used a little bit like this. And I guess if you're kind of building up from a 3, it makes sense that sometimes the right winger would almost have to act a little bit like a wing back. Yeah. Maybe that's what created that whole thing happening because certainly Silva dropped much deeper and more centrally than Badiashile in the build up. But Badiashile was quite far left, so that hinted at the back 3 build up. Maybe that's why, but yeah. I mean, so would you have gone 6 for Chalobah, bro? Price?
Personally, I would. Yeah, just because. Actually, see, I don't know because of like how much Madueke had to track. I don't know whether that's on him, whether that was just instruction, whether it was structure,
or just Madueke working extra hard. I guess.
Yeah, it was really hard.
It's true.
No, I'll go 6.
I mean, because we went 2 people went for 5.5, we're going to stay with that anyway. Unless we want to go 6.5, then obviously it changes it. But yeah, leaving that at 5.5. Pice, I'll let you go first again on this one. Chile, you said in the chat, it's been kind of disappointing recently. I wouldn't necessarily always agree on recently, but on today I would. But much more concerning than how he played is the fact that he got injured. Because that means now Trevor Chalobah, Marco Cucurella and Ben Chilwell, both of the left backs that we have, are injured. Now, obviously, we have Lewis Hall, but Frank Lampard chose to play Aspie there. So, am I next week, unless Cucurella is back then, which we don't know about, am I having to expect Chalobah at right back, Aspie at left back next week? In my days. Yeah, but what about Chile until he got injured, Pice? Wasn't amazing, was he?
No, I don't know what it is lately. I felt like when he receives the ball, I don't know, it just doesn't look comfortable. I don't know why, whether it's, different partnerships or whatever in the back and then receiving the ball from someone different. Obviously, Badiashile came in today, but I don't know. I felt like he was a bit sloppy as well on the ball. Don't know. He got caught out a lot, I think. Thought the same against Arsenal. I don't know. I just don't feel like he's been himself. I don't feel like he's been very good, to be honest with you.
There you go. What rating would that then end up with, I guess, for today?
I would go with a 5, personally. I don't think he was dreadful. I just think he was way below average.
Okay.
Yeah, he's also not been a threat going forward lately at all, which is one of his big points.
And when he gets into good positions, then he usually messes up the cross, which is really frustrating.
Yeah, there was one today where he made a good overlap and he's
then
like
the
he
cross
took a
just
touch,
straight into the opponent's
looked
legs.
like, and he just literally put it straight to the opponent. I was like, yeah, this is not like.
And a lot of his kind of like just laid off passes to Mudryk really badly weighted and timed as well often. So yeah, it was frustrating. Yeah. Like I was thinking around a 5, maybe even 4.5, but I'll see whether that will be relevant depending on what Mo says. Mo, what did you make of shit? Obviously frustrating and disappointing that he got injured. Presumably going to miss the rest of the season. Now it's not like there's long left to go. So usually a hamstring injury will keep you out for a couple of weeks. So that's frustrating for him. But what did you make of his performance aside from the injury?
I was very disappointed. I don't know how else to put it. I think I want to see more from Chilwell. Chilwell does play as a fullback or a wing back, and today I thought he was actually quite poor. And I think he hurt us in build-up play. He hurt us in terms of transition and offered basically next to nothing attacking-wise as well. And there was a few times where he was given the ball and literally his job is to just pick out the right pass inside the box where there are players for us in there. And he's hitting his first man, or like he's doing all the wrong things in that sense that I'm just like, I'm extremely disappointed in what I'm seeing. I don't think that's good enough. And I think a youngster like Lewis Hall has that type of performance. He'd be benched and he wouldn't be seeing game time anytime soon. That's how bad for me the performance was. I don't know if it's an injury thing, if it's a confidence thing. Pies and yourself both said the same thing. He's just a little bit sloppy. He sometimes is unaware of when he receives a ball and what sort of play is around him, and from the perspective of picking out his teammates, but also like players that are pressing him. It's like he's completely and utterly unaware. And I'm sorry, but if this is the version of him that we're going to get, this is not good enough. This is not what Chelsea Football Club requires. And I'll be looking at him very closely as a player that we may need to look to move on if that carries on. Obviously, I know he signed a new contract and stuff. But this performance in particular for me, this particular performance for me, it's not good enough. I think Cucurella has the same type of performance. He'd be getting dragged across the timeline, whereas with Chilwell, he gets to get away with stuff like this because apparently we either won a game or he didn't make a major mistake. But I'm like, when a player tries to do something positive and it impacts the rest of the team positively, despite him making maybe a few mistakes, I can deal with it because at least there's a bravery, there's a willingness to want to do something. But this left-hand side for me has been suffering as a result of Chilwell. People might not agree with me on this statement, but this left-hand side for me in particular, until Chilwell learns how to do his job properly and is affecting his teammates on the left-hand side better, he needs to improve because this is disgustingly bad for me. And today was one of those performances where I was like, I know you're injured and I should be upset, but I'm kind of glad that now maybe Lewis Hall gets a chance. But then Frank Lampard does the Ashley thing. Now I'm thinking, oh shit, we might get Aspilicueta on this side now. So I don't even know, man. But I was particularly disappointed. So I'd give him a 4, maybe even a 3 at this point. I just was that disappointed, I'll be honest. But it's been building up for a while. So
you want to go 3 or you want to go 4?
I feel like 3, I'm being harsh. Okay. Nah, let me be harsh, man. You know what? This has been building up within me for quite a while. Let me give him a 3 because I swear to God, I felt bad about him for quite a while now.
All right. Well, I'm not maybe quite in agreement on quite the harshness you went for, even though I do think you made some good points. Does that make sense? So now let me add this up. 3 plus 5. Now I need to decide whether I want to give him a 4.5 or a 4. Well, I give Thiago Silva a 3, so I think a 4 is about right. So that just leaves us at an even 4, doesn't it? No need to use a flipping calculator for 3, 4, and 5, is there?
Yeah.
All right, Jenny. Well, still get well soon, please, and hopefully, and just with a proper preseason, not coming back injured in the middle of the season like this season, obviously. Maybe he can kick on and do exactly what Mo is asking from him. In an ideal world, I'm sure that's what we all would want the most. Enzo Fernandez today. Enzo Fernandez, very good today, I will say. He drastically benefited from the fact that Bournemouth don't know how to stop a 6, apparently. Because all the other teams recently, they all made sure Enzo couldn't get on the ball too much. Enzo couldn't turn when he had the ball, couldn't spray his passes. And Bournemouth just let him do a lot more than recent opponents did. Now, I guess maybe we did a little bit better as well, maybe with Badiashile helping in the build-up and stuff. But Enzo was good, and I don't want to take anything away from him. But it was also, I think, Bournemouth just being a bit silly for letting him. But hey, it is what it is. I'll take it. 93% pass completion, which is very good. Although, very interesting interview. I'm not sure, guys, if you've seen it, but Kevin De Bruyne was speaking about for offensive players, pass completion is a completely irrelevant stat. And I completely back him. He said for defensive midfielders, defenders, it's different, but he said for offensive midfielders, completely irrelevant stat. And he's right, because, how can you ever play a good pass if you don't play a risky pass? And sometimes a risky pass will be intercepted, will be incomplete. It happens. Even the best footballers don't complete every pass. But one thing's for sure, if you don't try the difficult passes, you're never going to do anything. But of course, Enzo did play as a defensive midfielder. So for him, I will highlight the 93% pass completion as positive. But first and foremost, I will highlight 2 stats here. Number 1, accurate long balls, 11 out of 13. Back to him doing a lot of that, which is great. 13 passes into the final third, which is also positive. And the recoveries was 9, or was it in your tweet, maybe even 10 pies? But he most certainly also did a pretty decent job defensively on a few occasions. So I thought he did well. Not amazing. I'm not going to go crazy high with the rating. But I think he warrants... I thought he got a little bit unlucky as well. I know the ball did hit his hand, but his hand was literally on his chest. So, what more can a player do than put their own arm in front of their own chest? How much less can you try and widen your body than by having it on your chest? Now, I know the ball was going up. Therefore, the arm being on his chest kind of still did widen his body in a way, because obviously,
Laurenz, boys, can I just say?
Please.
Badiashile quoted me.
What?
What a go.
Round of applause for Pies. Round of applause for Badiashile.
He just put loads of love hearts.
Is it? I'll bring it up in a second.
I did the tweet. I said Chelsea fans are singing the song they tweet. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Oh, you just shared it to me anyway. Oh, no, that was a completely different thing. What did you share me here? Basically, the whole kind of back 3 thing.
People were saying, look at Chilwell on that.
Yeah. In what way, though?
Just in terms of a lot of people were slandering him for always being forward and stuff.
Okay, yeah. I'll bring that up on screen in just a second, actually. Let me get this one, because it's actually an interesting still graph to look at, regardless of what we then think that tells us, if that makes sense. All right. Where is the quote? Badiashile, where are you at? My days. Sometimes these things just take a little bit too... Is he still not verified?
No, he's not. He's at Badiashile B.
Yeah, no, I found him. Let me bring just that up on screen quickly, and then before we get taken back to end. No, it's pretty dope. I mean, a little bit less though, because it's not verified. But yeah, just fancying and Todd Bowley went to France in a Lamborghini, brought us back a centre-back, Benoit Badiashile. I still would love to know who came up to rhyme Lamborghini with Badiashile, and they just pronounced it Badiashile. But sure, I'll take it. It works, I guess. And good old Benoit loves it as well, so I'm a fan. Who doesn't love Big Ben, especially on... Well, let's not say what the Celtic fans had to say about today, right? But this is a very interesting one. Let me just quickly close that one. First win for Lampard. Lampard's current Chelsea spell. So this is what we were talking about. Someone in the chat said off the ball it was a back 3. No, I disagree. Off the ball it was a clear back 4, because then Chile dropped in. But on the ball it was kind of a back 3 at times with Chalobah, until we made it to the final third, which is when then Chalobah pushed high like a normal right back. But yeah, you could, I guess, argue why was Chile so high? Why was he also a bit inside? But I guess that's also because Mudryk likes to stay wide and stuff. I did also think that, Chilwell and Mudryk didn't really get their distances between each other right today. They were kind of too close a lot of the time to really do anything with each other, whether it was the one passing to the other or the other passing to that guy. But also, it didn't really allow them to move around, in particular for Mudryk in that case, obviously, to have a bit of space and freedom. Do I go here a little bit more or here a little bit more, depending on where the defender is? But you can most definitely see that our right-hand side was most certainly the most dominant one. And more than the middle and more than the list. We'll get to Mudryk later in terms of touches. I've not looked at it yet. But yeah, it's certainly an interesting graph. Very, very interesting graph. And it shows how good Badiashile is in build-up. And I'm calling him Badiashile myself now. Badiashile is in build-up because, just look at how many passes came from him. Thiago Silva as well, of course. But still, next one, in terms of passes, Badiashile, Enzo, Chalobah actually had more than Thiago Silva. That's interesting. But yeah, I like it. Thanks for sending that, Pice. Maybe I should follow these guys if I want to see these graphs in the future. So let's do that. And let's bring the lineup screen back up on screen and talk about Enzo Fernandez. I was about to finish my point on him. Do I give him a 7 or 6.5? I'm going to say 7 for now. I'm going to see what the boys say. Mo, what about you? Do you think I'm going a little bit too high for Enzo? But he still did have a few very, very good stats. So
I think the stats are quite solid, isn't it? Like they show that obviously when you use him in certain roles and the team is playing the way they need to, and he's able to kind of obviously make sure that we have that strong foundation in the back there where he's always available for a pass, but also he's willing to switch the ball when it needs to be switched. It doesn't always stay in the same areas. It's not always the same recycled type of short passes, etc. I think one thing I have to say with him is that I do feel like the more I watch of him, the more I feel like we restrict him in this role. It feels like we're not making the best choices in terms of that final. Where Gallagher plays, I would prefer Enzo to be there. Like that.
Same.
That's how I feel about him. I feel like he would pick more creative passes, and he's got a good eye for understanding when players put themselves in certain positions just to pick out the right pass. He's also willing to take shots. The fact of the matter is where he's at now, it's a lot of limitations. So he's doing the role justice, but I don't feel like we're making the best out of him at this moment in time. So, and 7 is fair based on what he's done today, because I think stats-wise he was good, but there was nothing there to make you think, yo, this is the money we spent this guy on. Like, there's nothing
I
to
completely
make you
agree.
think that just yet.
And I still think it's ridiculous that we constantly play him there. But what can you do? Unless Frank
it's obvious why we do it. And I'm interested to see what we do after the summer, because I do think we need to address that.
Yeah, there you go. I'm not really sure what your question exactly is, Neos. He says, I have a question. Why does he take only 20 minutes every 5 games? I guess, why does he only get? I don't know. At the same time, I don't know. On the other hand, I do know. And I'm like, why does he get any, though? Like, he was already in Paris. He wants to leave. Everyone knows he will leave. So it's kind of pointless. Enzo is 6, bruv. He goes today. All right, mate. Look at the stats. Made more successful ball recoveries, 10, than any other player. More accurate long balls than any other player on the pitch. No, purely long balls isn't like everything to shout home about, but the recoveries in his position, when we do play him as a 6 and as a single 6, then those are the kind of stats we need to look at. And having 10 of those is very good. Pies, would you agree on a 7, or do you think we maybe gone slightly overboard? I'm still kind of tempted to say 6.5 rather than 7, but yeah.
Yeah, I would go 6.5. I'd probably give him a 7 if he got an assist. Thought he played decent. But again, I think I like just reiterate everything we've kind of said. Before, like, we want to see him play further forward. He does a decent job as the number 6. Sometimes he's getting. I do feel a little bit sad for him sometimes, because like when Gallagher and Kante push up, I'm like, transitions. It's like it's a bit scary, but.
In possession, he's basically in midfield on his own, because neither Kante nor Gallagher are capable of keeping the ball, except when they combine for a goal, apparently.
Yeah, so there's that side to it, and I think even when hopefully when we do play him as further forward, number 8, we need to make sure that obviously structure and obviously DM is like someone extremely athletic, because there's going to be times during games where Enzo, if he does play forward, obviously tracking back, he's not the fastest either, so. We're going to need to make sure that, we've got the right sort of DM behind him when we do go that forward. Yeah. So I'm just hoping we get the recruitment right as well in that sort of sense.
So do I, mate. So do I. I do sometimes think you make him out to be a bit slower than he actually is, but fair. There you go. 6.5 then, because I will go 6.5. Sorry, Mo. Left you hanging there. But
Nah,
here
it's
we
all
are.
good.
Let's get to N'Golo Kante. Great cross for Conor Gallagher's goal. Outside of that, thought he was pretty poor, honestly. I'll just say it as it is. I know I'm a Chelsea fan. Should have been sent off. Because it wasn't on the counter, but he basically did 2 identical fouls, both nowhere near the ball, both just clattering into the defender, tripping him. One gets a yellow, the second one didn't. And yes, the second one was the Bournemouth player running towards his own goal, but that doesn't mean it's not a yellow card foul, and that should have been a second yellow. And if Kante gets sent off at 1-1, I don't see us winning. So Kante very much got away with one there, very much so. I mean, I'm not sure whether you guys agree with that, but I certainly think so. But yeah, he obviously got the assist, so I don't really know. I genuinely thought he was poor. So with the assist, I'm gonna give him a 5. And otherwise probably would have said like 4.5-ish, maybe even 4. But yeah, with the assist, because it's still important now, obviously, because we conceded not long after, that kind of was cancelled out, I guess. But imagine we don't score that first and then they go 1-0 up. So still not cancelled out as such. So yeah, I will say 5, including the assist. But yeah, very lucky, in my opinion, today that he didn't get himself sent off. Mo, sorry. First of all, do you agree that second tackle should have been a second yellow card? And then what did you make of him? Do you think I'm way too harsh now, or what do you reckon?
I'm trying to think of it in terms of how he makes me feel when he's on the pitch. I'm first of all, like, I'm happy to have him back. Let's make that clear, because I do think he offers quite a lot to our midfield, in the sense that there's a versatility that he offers from going from defending to trying to go on the transition and trying to do the attacking aspect of the game. Today, in particular, for me, I felt like other than the assist, he didn't really offer much. I think there was moments where he was combining really well with Madueke and with Chalobah, trying to help us get up the field. But other than that, I didn't really feel like there was nothing to wow that was wow about his performance. I think his tackles in particular were quite dangerous, and you're absolutely right. On any other given day, probably we would have seen him gotten sent off. And I think because it's N'Golo Kante and maybe people like he's got good PR around him, maybe the referees are a bit nicer to him.
1,000,000%.
I think any other player of Chelsea colour, if he does exactly the same thing, I think we'd be screwed, if I'm honest with you. And I think we would be talking about a different type of result as well. So I think 5 is a bit harsh, because he did get an assist at the end of the day and he was making certain combinations that were nice. But I still feel like we need to do a bit of work in finding what his new role for Chelsea Football Club will be going forward, because it can't just be put him in these areas and make him be part of the attacking side of the game as well. Because the attacking side of the game, for me, he leaves a lot of room, like where he doesn't actually make the right decisions the way you want him to. There was a moment where he combined really well with Madueke. Madueke is still making outright that run, and all that N'Golo Kante has to do is just pass into that area. But what he does is he turns to try and pass back to Madueke, and it just goes completely all wrong, and the attack is completely killed off because Bournemouth are
and
back.
I thought that happened both against Arsenal and today so many times, that him and Madueke seem to have complete misunderstandings of what they wanted from each other. And that's partly why I went quite as low. Maybe 5 is still a bit too harsh, and I should have maybe done 5.5.
He needs to learn. Either we need to teach him that, or you need to avoid putting him in those scenarios. I think if that's Enzo, we're talking about a different situation entirely altogether. But because it's N'Golo, and because I know the reason why we do it is because of his pressing ability, his ability to cover ground. There's so many positives to having him there, but there's just as much negatives from an attacking side of things that we have to consider. Today, probably a 6 is a fair amount to give him, but going forward, I am worried if we continue to use him in the same nature, because I don't think this is his best.
Yeah, certainly now in this current form. Fire, at first I was like, are you talking about Enzo or Kante? But seeing your follow-up comment, you clearly were talking about Kante. See, that's the problem. That wasn't just his job. He played as a box-to-box midfielder. His job is not just stopping attacks. His job is also attacking. And that outside of the one cross, and yes, it was great, and yes, it was important, but the amount of times he just had misunderstandings with Madueke, with even Chalobah, and I was like, what are you doing? He frustrated me a lot. And maybe my 5 was still a little bit too harsh. What did I see here? Where was it? Oh, yeah. The Chelsea defense opened up once Kante came off. To be fair, that's not the worst point and not worst argument to make. Then again, the goal that we conceded came from Kante making a foul, which if he timed his tackle better, stops the counter attack completely in the first place, and then it still came down his midfield side, and he didn't do nothing about it. So I'm not quite as sure as if it's as simple as Kante came off, so they got better. Not quite as sure if it's quite as simple, but I still see where you're coming from. Pice, I might change mine to a 5.5, but for the time being, I'll stick to a 5. Mo went for a 6. What are you going to give Kante today, bro? Obviously, he got an assist, but what did you make of him otherwise as well?
I'd probably give him a 5.5 just because of the amount of times I think he made the wrong decision in the attacking third. And again, I think it's obviously what am I trying to say? Like characteristic in his game, like needs improvement. Final balls, decision making. But again, I think I've always said I think Kante, can play this forward role. I think he's better as a box to box, but I think just in a pivot, he's much better. Instead of a midfield 3. The only time we've really seen Kante play this regularly in a 4-3-3 was obviously Sarri. Conte, Tuchel, pivots.
I mean, that's years ago now as well, to be fair.
Yeah, France pivots. Leicester, played in the midfield too with Drinkwater. So, he's always been in the midfield too. So there's that aspect to it as well. But yeah, I just think a little bit sloppy today as well. A couple passes went off the pitch. So I think just a little bit below average. For the red card, maybe potential red card, I think he could have been, but I think just because it was like, I genuinely think it came down to this. Because Solanke didn't roll on the floor and make a meal out of it, I genuinely think that stopped him getting sent off.
Maybe. Big up Solanke then. Thank you.
Yeah. Because when I saw the replay, I was like, yeah, it's a yellow card. But Solanke just got up straight away. He almost grabbed the ball and got up. So, but if he went down rolling and Bournemouth went over to it, I guarantee you would have given him a second yellow. So, thank God he didn't roll around.
Exactly that. I think it's a good point. And also what Mo said, if anyone other than Kante, they get a yellow card as well. But Kante is this nice guy. Referees like him. He never complains.
I don't know about that. I don't actually know who this ref was to that. I hardly recognised him. So
no, it's true. And he was clearly a clown. But I still think every ref likes Kante. He's like this cute little guy. Do you know what I mean? No one wants to be mean to Kante. Everyone loves Kante. So I think Kante, like Fernandinho had that as well. Fernandinho just had a knack of getting away with fouls that should have been yellow cards. And
he was the most dirtiest guy, so I don't know how he was.
Like that as well. Kante isn't dirty, absolutely. And Fernandinho was, whatever. But still, they both have that thing where they make tackles, should get booked, but they don't. It's just something. And maybe that's partly why they're so good. Maybe it's somehow knowing your way to make yellow card fouls without getting a yellow card. Maybe that's part of being a wonderful midfielder. Maybe that is part of it. But yeah, even if I push mine to 5.5, 5.5 overall remains regardless. And let's get to Conor Gallagher. And my thinking of him is even worse than of Kante. I know he scored, and weirdly on football, he has the highest rating, which I don't really know. But honestly, Gallagher, in the first half, other than the goal, I didn't even notice him. But I don't mean that in a good way. I mean, he wasn't really getting himself. So, because what we did a lot of today is, and the part of why we attacked so much in the right was because Kante obviously, Havertz dropped a lot into this area a lot. And then obviously you had Kante over there. So it was a great player. Enzo drifts more right than he does left. And then obviously we all talked about Chilwell wasn't great. Mudryk wasn't great, although you could argue maybe Mudryk wasn't great because Gallagher and Chilwell weren't great, maybe. But Gallagher wasn't really much used defensively. He wasn't really much used offensively outside of his goal. But it was a goal, though. Like an assist is one thing, but Kante can play the same cross and whoever's in the middle doesn't score it, right? The goal is what counts most, what matters most. So with the goal, I will give him a 5.5, maybe a 5. But I don't think he was great. I don't think he was great by any means. No, he was awful, but I think he was rather poor for the most part, or rather invisible. And for a player like Conor Gallagher, that is a bad thing, because what the best attribute of Conor Gallagher is his work rate, his stamina, his engine, his intensity. And if those are your biggest strengths, and then I barely notice you can't have played well, because then you clearly weren't showing your biggest strengths. But you got a goal. So, big of you, Conor, and we appreciate that. But yeah, I'm going to say 5.5 and go to you, Pice. Do you agree with my assessment of Conor overall? But also, what rating would you give him?
A really strange one, because other than the goal, I didn't really notice him that much. to be honest with you. So I don't really know what to rate him.
I mean, the stats don't look bad, but
No, like I don't know. I was just noticing Kante much more. Kind of went missing for me during the game after that goal. To be honest, I'm going to give him a 6 because he scored the goal, and I don't think he made any mistakes or did anything stupid. So I think 6 is fair enough.
I mean, he clearly was pretty invisible because he had 57 touches playing the whole 90, while Kante had 53 playing only 63 minutes. So half an hour less, and they basically had the same touches in essentially the same position. So obviously mirrored. And I guess we just played down the right more, so that's not purely on Gallagher. But I still think part of the reason why we played so much down the right is because of Gallagher, and to some extent maybe Chilwell. But fair enough, you give him a 6. Mo, would you agree with Pice's 6? Would you maybe agree with my 5.5? Would you go for something different? What would you say?
Hey, no, I'm gonna go for a 5, guys.
Yes.
Pretty much for the same I don't think he's someone again that I'm frustrated at him, just like I am frustrated at Chilwell. I don't see what he really offers to this team other than just, a pair of legs that can run up and down that pitch and offer intensive runs. Even then, I still don't think they're intelligent runs. I think today he found himself in the right place at the right time just to get that header and then goals. Literally, I couldn't even notice these runs. So for me, average performance, but I'll at least accept the fact that he scored a goal. But for the more I watch him to play for us, the more I'm convinced that this guy shouldn't be playing for Chelsea Football Club. I love him to bits. Obviously, I understand he's from Cobham and stuff, but I have to look at the ability at the end of the day and what brings this club forward. I just don't think he's good enough for us. And the more that people try to justify it to me, the more I'm like, you either aren't watching the game or you just love him because he's from Cobham. But we've got to be real, guys. Like, this guy isn't offering much to the team. Again, I speak about this left-hand side quite a lot. I think someone like Mudryk suffers because of plays like these two guys behind him or on his side that he has to play with. That for me, tactically, they're not intelligent enough. Positionally, they're not intelligent enough. And link-up play for me is missing far too much. And other than the goal, I don't really have positive to say about him today. So, yeah, 5 is what I'm giving him. But I understand that will probably end up being a 5.5 anyway.
It will be a 5.5. I mean, it's totally split between 5, 5.5, and 6. So 5.5 is exactly in the middle. There you go. That's what we're going to give him. And hey, at the end of the day, maybe this goal even added another 2-3 million to his transfer value that we can get for Conor in the summer. So even better if that's how it is. Let's get to Mykhailo Mudryk. Difficult one. He wasn't great. Like, his pass completion, amazing, 94%, 17 out of 18 passes. But we just touched on what Kevin De Bruyne said, and that I assume most people agree with that. As an offensive player, as a winger, having 17 out of 18 passes completed doesn't necessarily mean that's a good thing, because just in his case, that today just meant he was very, very safe.
How many passes did Madueke have, by the way, just out of interest?
How many what? Sorry?
Madueke, how many passes did he have in terms of like pass completion and all that?
He had a pass completion of 77 only, but he attempted 43 compared to Mudryk's 80.
Cool.
And he had double touches as well.
It was all down Madueke's side, wasn't it? It was literally all Madueke.
Exactly
Mudryk had like a few like good flashes, and I noticed he was trying to go century as well, because I think he was. I don't know whether it was instruction or whether he tried to get on the ball, but
he had a few good runs there as well, which I enjoyed.
Yeah,
but they
he had
never
a few
quite
good runs.
Resulted in anything, did they?
No, he had a few good runs, but yeah, it wasn't like his. I don't know. We just didn't really play down that side, and I think a lot of people said Mudryk's not getting the ball, but like the amount of times that Madueke showed for the ball, I thought was quite the difference. Like, I felt Mudryk was hanging on the wing a little bit too much, like right out there. Like, I don't know.
Well, to be fair, was Madueke always super far wide?
He was, but he was calling for the ball as well. I didn't really see Mudryk like want the ball that much. So I don't know. He did well when he got it, definitely, but I don't know. I just felt like he could have had more authority. But again, we didn't really play down that side. Like, it was all down. Even with Chalobah, I felt like Chalobah had just a shit ton of touches, like compared to Chilwell. So maybe
it's not balanced, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe that was why I was more harsh on Chilwell as well. Because the times where he did get it, I thought, oh fuck's sake, like he's too slow or lost the ball or passed backwards. So yeah.
Well, what rating would you give him then, if you're talking?
I want to go 6, to be honest with you. I think from what I saw, 6 maybe. Yeah, like I don't think he played a below average game, to be honest with you.
That's a tough one. And not necessarily in a harsh way, but more because I thought he was too safe. And when I see what Madueke was doing, taking people on and being confident, trying, and like we touched on Mudryk's pass completion, like he wasn't always willing to take someone on. He was like, sometimes he just rather passed it backwards. I was more thinking 5, even a 4.5 crossed my mind. So I'm intrigued now because you're saying 6. So I'm very intrigued what Mo's going to say. Mo, how do you see that one? Are you surprised the price went as high as a 6, or would you maybe even agree with it?
Right, I'm more inclined to agree with him, if I'm honest with you. I think there's a team issue we really need to pay attention to. The amount of times, the difference in passes, the reason why I asked you about it is because when I was watching that game, I was like, we barely go down the left, and when we do go down the left, we ruin it. There was moments where Gallagher and Chilwell had opportunities to really combine very well with Mudryk, and they completely screwed up that final pass, or didn't give it to him in the right moment, or are waiting too long and they give him the ball and he has no choice but to pass it back to them, because the area that he could have exploited, had they done it 2 seconds later, would have been far more easier for him to approach. And these are the little details that, in my opinion, we really need to figure out, because Madueke, for me, for example, was getting the ball more often where he was generally like faced towards the guy that he's supposed to take on. Whereas Mudryk, I can count maybe on one hand, if I'm lucky today, how many times we did that for him. The
That's
moments
true.
where
But
he
how
did
often
dribble,
did Mudryk position himself to receive the ball in that position?
but they neglect him, bro. That's the problem I have. They
Yeah,
generally
that
like
for me,
this.
it's like kind of a mix of both, though, right? Like I agree with you, but I'm
Mhm.
also like, but some of it is also down to him. We can't just
Okay,
blame him.
so say for example, as a player, you position yourself in the right area, you're waiting for the ball to arrive to you, but it never does.
No, but would you
What
say
can
he
you
did
really
always
do?
position himself in the right area? That's what I'm
More
asking.
often than not, I think he's actually in the right areas. He just does not get the ball quick enough, or
Okay.
barely ever gets the ball, if anything. The thing
Okay.
is, there are moments today where he got the ball and ran through the midfield and actually took on players, but
He did.
because it didn't lead to anything, like nobody will talk about it, and everyone starts to doubt whether he can actually take on players or whether he can do anything good on the pitch. But I'm like, guys, the more you do it, the more you'll realize the kid has got something in him. Yes, there are aspects of his game that he definitely needs to iron out. I think his ability to receive the ball is something I'd like him to actually get better at, because I want him to be spatially more aware and actually allow himself to have that first touch that puts him on a positive, so he's able to actually take on his play a lot more comfortably. The problem, however, I have is a lot of these things are very much the finer details of how your teammates also pass the ball to you. And when you watch them, honestly speaking, I think we could put Matoma in there, who's one of the standout performers in this season. We'd make him look bad. We'd make him look bad because we would
Oh yeah,
neglect
no,
the
I agree
player.
with
We
that.
would do certain things that go against that player. I'm not inclined to blame Mudryk for a lot of the lack of things that we see, because the moments that I do see where we provide him with something, he's at least fearless. His ability to take on plays is there. And all I'm wanting to see is, can our players play to a level where they do a bit more to actually involve him in games rather than just neglect him? And I think Chilwell is very guilty of this, by the way. He's a massive factor for me in this part, because there are moments where he runs into spaces that Mudryk could have ran into, and then Mudryk is
That
having
does
to
it
stay out
become an
wide.
issue? Because a few months ago we were saying the exact same thing about Cucurella in
Mm.
terms of that he's not finding Mudryk and stuff. So
Mhm,
is it
mhm.
just it happens to be both of our left backs are bad at this, or
I think it's a instruction, like from an instruction point of view, and maybe a confidence point of view. I don't know which one it is with each one of those players. I think with Cucurella, this is his first season at Chelsea, so I think he's just trying to make sure that he does the right things, and he's trying to minimize his mistakes and not be as risky. But I'm like, that's why we signed you. You took risky passes, you made risky moves happen, but it paid off for your team. When I watched him at Brighton, I didn't like him because his pass completion rate was fantastic. I liked him because he would make the right type of runs, and intelligently you could see his link up play was actually really fluid. With Chilwell, I feel like, I don't know, like it's a combination of factors with Chilwell. I don't know if it's just the return of injury. I don't know if it's just the fact that he's just, from an IQ point of view, he's not really connecting the things together the way he needs to, or he's just gotten used to the wing back position, and therefore when he's at fullback, he doesn't actually make the right runs, other than the runs in behind all by himself, where we then have to try and find him. His link up play has been poor. And I'm like, I need these aspects of our game to improve. So with Mudryk today, I'll say, to be fair, because he didn't really get involved in this game much, 5 is probably fair at best in this situation. But I don't think it's his fault that he's performing this level right now. I think we are more at fault for it as a team.
Okay. You know what? I think because I thought you initially started this by agreeing with Pice's 6. So 5, I can get on board with. Like I say, I was thinking 5, 4.5 maybe, but that maybe would have been on the harsher end of things. So I'm going to agree with that 5, and that leaves it at a 5.5 overall. It's just I'm not quite sure on this dribbling stat here because apparently he had 1 out of 2 successful dribbles. The 1 out of 2, I'm not even arguing that one. That he attempted to, that's what I disagree with, because I saw more started attempted dribbles from him in my books. What I was actually happy with him today was when he received the ball under pressure from behind him, he managed to keep the ball, be strong enough to not get dispossessed, be strong enough to not get get the ball nicked away from him. Didn't get that many. Like, how many times did he get fouled? Once. So
did you guy just asked? Did you think he got booked for diving? Didn't he? Do you think that was a dive?
No,
it wasn't.
No way. Did you?
No, for me personally, I didn't. But I can see why he got a yellow.
I disagree. I mean, my commentator was saying they only do this in the Premier League. Nowhere else they give out stupid yellow cards like this. And I was like, yeah, Premier League refs. I'm not surprised. But yeah, no, to me, I mean, it was clearly not a foul. I'm not trying to say it was a foul by any means, but it's not a dive. Like, he realized he wasn't going to get to the ball before it went out of play. And rather than sprinting into the advertising banners, hitting his knee and hurting himself, he just went to the ground, slid it out, got up, and everything was fine. All of a sudden, gets booked. It's just stupid refereeing, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, 0 out of 4, successful crosses. By the way, Pice, we were talking about Chilwell. Chilwell actually had 3 out of 6 completed crosses today, apparently, compared to his usual 1 out of 7 or whatever, which is weird because definitely didn't feel like that, did it?
No, but that's still that's 50%.
3 out of 6 is okay. And cross completion, even close to 50% is good.
Who did he cross? I'm confused. I don't remember him making crosses.
I don't know what they're talking about here. I maybe remember 1. But I don't know where they got the other 2 from.
Oh, man.
There
you go. Mikhailo Mudryk, we'll leave it at a 5.5 overall. Hopefully you're not too upset with us, guys, because some think he was much worse than that in the chat. But hey, here we are. Madueke. Again, big shout out. Best player today by a bit of a distance. The problem is, how high do I go for the rating? Because do I want to give an 8 to someone that didn't have a goal or assist in the end? And I don't. So I'm going to say 7.5. But he was still very, very good. I mean, attempted dribbles, 9. 5 of them successful, which isn't the craziest success rate. But what we are lacking, first and foremost, in my opinion, is people having cojones and trying something. And he is doing that. And that's the biggest benefit I can give to him. Not everything that he did was great. And his crossing, he seriously needs to work on because he has 0 out of 3 crosses. I mean, Mudryk has 0 out of 4, sure. But some of the crosses that he played were really bad. But other than that, I thought he was so good. And he's quick. He's strong. Ground duels, he has 6 out of 13, which is okay. Not amazing, but okay. I was very happy with him. I'm going to say 7.5. I don't think an 8 should be given to anyone that doesn't have a goal contribution in the end. But yeah, I'm going to say 7.5. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, again, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button for me. That'd be massively appreciated. Well, I'll let you go first. Would you agree with the 7.5? What would you say? I mean, someone in the chat said, who said that? 6.5. Yeah, you just like being pessimistic, don't you? A lot of 7s. Someone said 7 to 8. Someone said 8.5. That's a bit too high. What do you reckon, man?
And I think 7.5 is fair. I think he was our standout player today, based on what we saw. He got a lot of the ball. He attempted quite a lot. And it's good to see a player that is willing to take on his man. I don't know how else to put it, but we've been dying for something like this, where players just take on their guy. They're not disheartened if things don't go to necessarily plan, but the link-up play, the ability to be unpredictable and dynamic, for me, was all there. It's now about making sure we start to actually help his development, because there's a lot of good stuff to work with in him there as a player. But people have to understand, not everything just hits and bangs immediately straight away. But the guy wasn't even getting minutes when he should have been getting minutes a lot sooner than this. Today, for me, he deserved the minutes he got. He took it with both hands, and he showed a lot of his quality in this game. I felt like the Arsenal game, he started well, but then as the game kind of got on, it started to get a bit more quiet. So I was interested to see how he bounces back from that Arsenal game. And I thought he'd made a good showing of himself. I think with the assist and goals, that is something that with time will definitely come with this player. I do think that's a collective
scored
thing
last
we need
game,
to
so.
really sort out. Say again?
Yeah, I said, I mean, he scored last game, so.
Yeah. I think with time, though, we're going to see more consistency out of him as a player. I think the most worrying thing with a player like this is that you're going to get moments where he might he will probably try too much and he might frustrate you. But these are the things that you try to iron you have to iron as a coach. You have to try and develop those aspects of his game out of him and actually make him more and efficient as a player. And I think efficiency comes with time. He's going to be able to get to that point, but we can't just starve him of game time and minutes. Today, for me, standout player out of that whole team. I'm shocked that we won, but I then look at him and I'm like, you know what? You deserve to be on the winning team today. You did a good showing of yourself, and I look forward to seeing what he does in the next game. So 7.5, fair point. I'm not even going to disagree.
Fair dues. Pice, take it to you. Are you going to agree with the 7.5 as well? I did find it harsh that he was subbed off, but obviously Ziyech got the main winning assist, so I can't complain too much. But at the time, I was like, why are you even taking Madueke off? Now, there was it Bobby Vincent or whatever, Pice, who reported that initially when Sterling came on, Madueke was moved to the left, which why would Frank do that? Why would he play Madueke who's left-footed and constantly cuts inside on the left and put Sterling on the right? That wouldn't make no sense. Apparently, then they swapped back round and then he took Madueke off. So I'm wondering if Frank maybe took him off because Madueke was apparently unhappy with being moved on the other side.
Yeah, they were like laughing and joking at the end and smiling, so maybe they had like a bit of, I don't know, back and forth, but it seemed like all cleared up if anything did happen.
So then I'm not going to put it down to that too much if they were, all friendly with each other.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, but Bobby Vincent did say that. He was moved back over to the right because he didn't like being moved to the left or something.
Yeah, because the problem was it was journalists just reporting that. We don't know how was he not happy. Like, was he not?
Yeah, like I mean, Madueke could have just like gone over and like pointed or something like over to the other position.
Or can I not stay over on the other side? I'm more comfortable.
Yeah, doesn't mean.
But if he obviously throws a hissy fit, why do I have to be in the left?
Yeah,
but we don't know.
He doesn't seem that like type of character or player, does he? So and I'm pretty sure, like, if there was anything ever deep, something would have been shared around. So I don't think there was anything. I think this is a good rating because I don't think he's an 8 because of no goal or assist, but. I don't think he's a 7 either because I think we give. We give Badiashile 7, and I think Madueke throughout the game.
He did score Badiashile, to be fair.
Yeah, he did, but Madueke throughout the game was just much more impactful, and didn't have that questionable moment at the back. He did have questionable moments on the ball, but I think is it Mohammed? I don't actually know how to. Is it Mohammed? Is his first name?
Yeah, bro.
Like Mohammed said, I think there will be moments where he does frustrate you. Like he did that insane skill that was clipped. He did he did that insane skill, and then he lost the ball like twice straight after that. And I was just like, come on, like be more smoother. But I'm looking forward to seeing him get more consistency.
He's only 21 as well. People need to remember.
Yeah, like he's so young. I think the biggest point you guys made, and the best point is he takes his man on constantly. He wants the ball. He just skips past people. This is what we need from wingers. Like we've had so many wingers who just fucking get the ball and pass it back. And there is times where he does that, but
that's what I was frustrated with Mudryk about because that's exactly what he did.
There is times where obviously you can't take a man on every time, but there was so many times where he did today. I think the one that I was most frustrated was where he hit the side net. I was like, those type of things there, like you got to either pick someone out or hit the target, but he definitely is definitely a really exciting player. He's someone you want to watch, you want to watch him. So yeah, I think this is a perfect rating for today.
Very good, and finish to start us off with Kai Havertz, probably our poorest player. I mean, because Thiago Silva didn't get a penalty given against him, otherwise maybe we could talk about Thiago Silva being that. But yeah, Kai wasn't good today. Now, people will say I have an agenda again, but to me, and maybe because I pay more attention to him than others because I quite like him, to me, Havertz looked like he moved different to usual. And by that, I don't mean like he started putting his right foot in front of the left foot instead of the other way around. But I'm saying when he made runs and which runs he made, how often he dropped. and how he was always over to the right, and then no one really seemed to fill the gap. That seemed to be different to how Kai usually plays. So I personally put that down to manager instruction, because otherwise, why would he do things differently to how he usually does them, right? That's my logic. But fact of the matter is, he just wasn't good. Like, he didn't really do much that was useful. Like, didn't give the ball away much. It was a bit weak on a few occasions where he just got pushed over without getting a foul for it. Sometimes I might have thought that was also a wrong decision by the ref to not give a foul, and not necessarily a bad thing on Kai. But on some occasions, he was definitely too weak. Yeah, I mean, 23 out of 26 passes is good. As I guess as a hold-up player to some extent, but you still need to do a little bit more. I did see quite a ridiculous criticism of him on Twitter today from Jay McIntyre. Shout out Jay, though, who said, Kai Havertz always passes sideways or backwards. I'm like, he's the striker. There is no one in front of him. Who can he pass the ball forward to? Of course he will. Like, if you go back to DJ Drogba, I guarantee you 90% of DJ Drogba's passes were backwards or sideways. As it is for every striker. How can a striker constantly pass forward? That's impossible. But anyway, I still don't think he was great, and I'm probably going to give him like a 3. It's the same I gave Thiago Silva, to be fair, but Thiago Silva obviously didn't end up on the 3. But yeah, I just don't think he did enough. Ground duels, 1 out of 6 is 4. Aerials, 1 out of 0 out of 1. What usually is quite good at that. I mean, he only had 1, and he doesn't shy away from them. So maybe we just didn't play enough or a lot of high balls to him. But successful dribbles, 1 out of 4. I mean, at least he completed 1, I guess. But yeah, wasn't very happy with him. Maybe I could go like a 4, but I'm gonna say 3 for now and see what the boys say, Mo. What are you gonna go for?
Yeah, I thought this was not a good game for him at all. There's not positives that I can really pick up from his game today, but it's weird because I think usually one of the things I can rely upon with him is, the thing I criticize with Gallagher is like, look, he does intense runs, he's good at covering ground, etc. I think Kai is very much underestimated in that aspect, but I actually think Kai is usually quite intelligent in forcing teams to play a certain way. Today, I didn't see any of that. I felt like today, because of the way we were pressing as a team, was much more deeper in the sense that we didn't really press their backline too damn much. I felt like it affected his game. He didn't really create chances. There was moments where there was a little bit of a glimpse that maybe he could create something for others. But other than that, it's one of those games where I just was like, if he was on the pitch or if he wasn't on the pitch, I would have not noticed either way. It was just that bad. And I think it's a game that he needs to forget about and he needs to improve for the next game, hopefully. But it's weird because when I watched Aubameyang, I was like, Aubameyang for me was a lot worse. I didn't feel as frustrated as I did with Aubameyang against Arsenal. And which is a strange thing to say because I know a lot of people were crying out for Aubameyang, but the thing with Kai Havertz is, for me at least, there are aspects of his game that really suits the team, whereas with Aubameyang, I'm like, he's just being dropped into a team, and this brother does not suit us at all, and that's how I've always felt with Aubameyang. So it'll be interesting to see if we do drop him or if we do replace him with somebody else, and for the next game, because I don't think that performance was good.
No, it wasn't. It was weird how Aubameyang started the last game. Today wasn't even in the squad. What?
Yeah.
Frank is so weird. Did you agree with a 3 in the end, or what?
Yeah, I think a 3 is fair. I was gonna say 4, but then I'm like, what am I actually saying 4 for? Like, if you said to me, why are you giving him a 4 and not a 3? I couldn't give you a reason. So I'm like, 3 is fair.
No, fair enough. I do agree with what Tom Ripley said here in the chat, saying Havertz is the only player in the attacker midfield who can play with the back against the goal. Drop him and we will have another shot. I agree with that. That doesn't mean Havertz is great, but with our squad, he's still the only one that can actually do that. Also true what Ashley said, Kai didn't get a pass all game like Felix received from Sterling.
100%. That I agree with.
Of course, but that will apply to everyone, right? So, I'll give Havertz credit for dropping back to help through the press. True, but other than that, he was ghosted. I agree. Maybe we could do 4, but we've gone 3 for the time being. What would you say? Would you agree with the 3? Would you go for something different? What you saying? And what did you make of Aubameyang all of a sudden not even being in the squad when he started the last game?
Yeah, that was strange, to be fair. I don't know. I had a feeling probably Frank Lampard was a bit annoyed in terms of like
drop him. He didn't even put another striker on the bench.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess Felix in a way, but.
Yeah, it was a weird one. Obviously, Felix came on up top, but Aubameyang not being on the bench was weird. I would always have a striker option on there personally, like an actual out-and-out striker. Havertz, I mean, just a typical game from him, really. I mean, he drifted out
Very
wide.
harsh.
No, like genuinely, like he just drifts out wide. He collects the ball. He drops deep, but you never feel like you get much from him. Like I don't know. Like I never feel like there's a goal threat up front. Like he just I don't know. He's just there almost. Like he does work hard, but I don't know, man. You know what I think about Havertz. I just think he's frustrating. I just think there's so much more. Like like link up play. Like there was nothing really there today. Like didn't really take up making many good runs, take up great positions. I think he just helped the team. But
I guess you need that to some extent as well. But
you do need
you
that
want
to
a
some
bit
extent,
more than that.
That's why I say though he's so much better coming off the bench, because what he does up front, as in terms of like drifting wide, and what I will say is when he gets the ball, like when he has his back to the goal and he just carries the ball, I think he hardly ever loses it. But as that position up front, him starting there, I don't think he does enough. So in terms of like just being a threat, shooting, that type of thing. Did he have a shot today? I don't think he had a shot. So like, you can't have a shot. Like you can't not have a shot if you're up front.
Only
Like,
had one. It was the header. The header from who played the cross? Ziyech.
Oh yeah.
I still
thought
think that cross got deflected, and otherwise he might score, but it wasn't a good header regardless.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, it would be a ghost emoji, or like a running emoji, but like, I mean, you can go over 3 if you want. I don't know.
Okay, I hear it. I mean, yeah, one of the most frustrating things for me about Havertz, and people know, like I say, I quite like him, maybe more than others do. What annoys me about him is that when he passes, whether it's backwards, sideways, or forwards, Havertz never puts a lot of power on his passes, and that often frustrates me. Now, I guess when he rolls it back to the defenders, maybe that's not always the worst thing, because a slow pass kind of almost triggers or I don't know, makes the opponent maybe like be a bit more tempted to follow the ball and try to push out if the back pass is slow. While if it's fast, they don't really have a chance to push out anyway. So if you roll it back, they maybe push out and that creates space. But I still think in general, it's a criticism of mine from him that he put a bit more power on your passes. Like, how were we ever going to play faster football if we always just roll our passes around? That was one of my criticisms of Virginia, was also that. Put some power on your passes. Like, people talk about tiki-taka, but when you watch prime Barcelona playing tiki-taka football, when you watch Man City now, they don't roll the ball about. They properly fizz it into each other, because then you cover distance with the ball quickly and you make the opponent go from left to right. It's just like, make them move, and the slower you pass. That
goes along with this whole like nonchalant gimmick though, isn't it? Like, that's just him as a player. Like, he just, But
be nonchalant all you want. Look like you're not bothered all you want. But the actual pass is not about looking. That's a fact that there's not enough power in. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't care if you look weird or if you look like you're not bothered. But put some power in. Ziyech looks like he's not bothered, but he plays a pass with power.
He actually did look like he was bothered today, to be fair.
That's true. Frank is back, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe he's just playing for Lampard. I thought, bloody hell, Ziyech is actually running a bit.
Yeah, he was right on it. I mean, one of his attempted dribbles was ridiculous, how easily he lost the ball. But he tried, fair play to him. Let's get these subs done. Obviously, we haven't, all these players we spoke about so far, two of the players that were involved, 3 of the players that were involved in the last 2 goals that won us the game, we haven't even spoken about yet. So let's just do a reverse, I guess. First Ziyech and Ruben, because they came on first. Start with Ziyech. Got an assist. Maybe could have had a second one. Still think that crossed a good deflection, which made it very difficult for others to score it. But yeah, Ziyech did good. To be honest, as with how little minutes he had, I'm going to give him a 7. Like, got the decisive assist. And my commentator was all game. My commentator was telling me about how Bournemouth is the worst team in the league at defending set pieces and at conceding corners, headed goals, sorry. Also corners, but headed goals. And in the end, we finally scored from a set piece, but it was frustrating how we were not threatening at all from the set pieces until then. And not actually because all of the set pieces were bad. Some of Chile's were decent, some of Mudryk's were decent, but only when Ziyech whipped it in, it actually came to something. So shout out to him, got a decisive assist. So as a sub, purely as a sub, obviously it's not comparable to a normal starter's 7, but as a sub, I think for what the time he had, I think in that time, he did very well and certainly deserves quite significantly above average for me. Pice, would you agree with that, or do you think I'm still going a bit too high?
No. I think maybe a 0.5 too high, but not that high.
Okay.
I would give him a 6.5. But yeah, I think he did well. He didn't come on for long, but he did well. He looked like he was bothered. And I didn't think he was bad on the ball. To be fair, I thought
I wanted to do this in order of when they came on, but Sterling and Ruben came on.
there was one moment where he was chasing a ball. I think it was one moment and he got in front of the guy and like used his body well and got the ball back. I was like, you know what, fair play. I didn't expect him to do that. So
yeah.
I think he did all right coming off the bench. And like if he has these 10, 15-minute bench appearances and he actually cares, I mean, I guess you could say why not, especially if we're drawing. You need a cross in the box or something like that. You need something.
3 out of 4 ground duels. That's pretty good,
Yeah, that's one of those would have been what the moment I mentioned.
What you're talking about, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, he's going to go in the summer. But if he cares that playing for Lampard, then I can't be too mad. I would still like to see like I don't know others. Like if it's between him or Felix, I want Felix on the pitch, even if it means he's drifting from wide. I just think he's a better footballer. But is what it is at the end.
Sometimes I guess we need a cross, and Ziyech is the guy that's going to give you the nice cross,
Yeah,
especially when we don't have
exactly.
Reece James fit.
I do agree with that.
Yeah. You know what I've just thought about? Maybe, with Frank and everything, should we, because apparently we're going to buy a second club for the multi-club model thing before next season. I wonder who, probably Strasbourg, I assume by the end. Should we just send Frank there as manager? Is that what we should be doing?
That would be insane. Unless he becomes like a sporting director here or something. I could see that happening as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably better. No, not probably. He's most definitely better at being a sporting director than he is as a manager. Look at all the players he got. Like, do you know what I mean? A talent ID is off the charts. Unlike Tuchel's, Tuchel, amazing manager, dreadful talent ID. Frank Lampard, dreadful manager, but the talent ID seems to be on point. Other than when he wanted Tarkowski, I'm not still happy we didn't sign it. But outside of that, pretty happy. But there you go. Mo, I said 7. Pi said 6.5. What would you give Ziyech as a sub?
Yeah, I'd say 6.5, 7. That I think that's fair because the impact he had was actually quite positive, and I can't lie that I'm ready just for him to go because I do think him coming onto the pitch and getting booed, like we're booing our own player.
I don't think it was to do with him. I think it was more just why you bringing him on and not someone else.
Yeah. I just think like when something's reached that end point and you can see it clearly, like it's no longer beneficial for both of us to actually be in any sort of contractual situation. I think he did decent, man. He came on, he showed himself, got us the assist that led to the goal, and after that, I felt like he worked hard. It didn't look like he didn't give a damn. So from that perspective, it's sad because I think I don't want to necessarily compare him from dreadful performances to say that he's been doing good. And I'd rather compare him to when he did well, especially that run he was having at Ajax, where I thought, you know what, when Lampard signed him, I'm like, we've gotten a really good player here. If we can get the same type of tune out of him, he's going to be a really key player. It's a shame he didn't work out, but I thought today, at least I could say I was humbled that he actually came on and contributed. Let's put it that way. So yeah, 7 is fair.
Fair dues. Because you said 6.5 or 7, I gave the chat already an option to decide between 6.5 or 7, but chances are they're going to go for the 7 anyway. So we'll leave that on screen, and we'll go over to Raheem Sterling, who I should have started this with, who also got booed when coming on. I'm not necessarily sure if it's about Sterling coming on and about Ziyech coming on. I think if there was boost for Ziyech, I think it was more at the fact of taking Madueke off rather than that it had anything to do with Ziyech in particular. And with maybe a little bit with Mudryk coming off and Sterling coming on. But I think Sterling was just so bad against Arsenal. Every fan is like, why him? But that run and that assist, and I watched the goal back now as we were streaming earlier. That run and the whole build-up to this third goal was absolutely wonderful. It was quick passing between Felix, Sterling, and I think actually Ruben. Could be wrong. And they were like passing it almost in a triangle quite a few times. And all of a sudden, Sterling went on a run. Felix, ran away into the correct position as well. Simple. It wasn't a difficult pass for Sterling, but the run was very strong. Squares it to Felix. Good position. Felix first time finish. Lovely. Absolutely lovely. Big fan. And Sterling, as much as I criticized you last week, I will praise you for that great run. Now, otherwise, he didn't really do much. I'll be honest. And he was on the pitch for half an hour. But I mean, didn't give the ball away 9 out of 10 completed passes. The stat here says 0 out of 1 completed dribbles. His assist was a dribble. Is this app stupid? What the flip? It clearly wasn't dribbled, and he finished with a pass. So that is a successful dribble. What the flip? But yeah. Just because I found the dribble so nice, I'm gonna still give him a 7, even though he overall did less than Ziyech in comparison to how long they were on the pitch. But that, one cross I deem as less impressive than I do one dribble, if that makes sense. Maybe people find that harsh, but I see it that way. Because, dribbling is multiple touches of the ball. A cross is one good touch of the ball because you only hit it, right? So yeah, I'm gonna say 7 with the start just because the assist was very, very nice. Didn't really matter unless we obviously would have bottled it. But it made sure we couldn't bottle it. And that's why it was actually a really, really big goal, I thought. So very happy. And yeah, I'm gonna say 7 pies. Do you think that's too high just for that one assist? It's okay if you do.
I'd probably give him a 6.5, like I give Ziyech.
Okay.
I think they both came on with intent, and I think they both did a very similar performance. I think they wanted to both impress Lampard. Stone looked like he had something to prove, and he definitely should. He needs to prove a lot. But yeah, especially in
he
Chelsea
played like that all the time. It's like something to prove.
Yeah, I give both a 6.5. I don't want to give one higher than the other. They both got an assist. They both came on playing well. They were above average, but 7, I think, maybe a bit too high.
Fair enough. Yeah, okay. 6.5 from you, and then Mo, you're gonna go for 6.5. You're gonna go for 7. You're gonna go for something different.
I'm gonna go for 7 only because I generally like the assist that he gave. That the thing is, this is what I like about Raheem Sterling is when he does stuff like this, and I've been begging for him to do it again. Like early on in the season, that's what I liked about him. When everyone was already saying, "Oh, they're doubtful about him," I'm like, this version of Sterling where he's willing to take on plays, where he's willing to commit defenders. I'm always going to be backing it because I do feel like that's how you cause danger to the opposition. That's how you can win a penalty. That's how you can create just uncertainty. The fact that he did it shocked me because I hadn't seen it for so long that I was shocked that Raheem Sterling was willing to do that. So it was nice to see. It was a great assist. Other than that, there was not much else to his game, but he had the right impact. So 7 out of 10. And from the bench, I thought that was really good, to be fair.
Very nice, very nice. All right, a 7 it shall be then. Let's get to Joao Felix. Obviously, him likes it. He played even less. Obviously, was the sub that was the last sub and only came on in the 84th minute, but still got himself a goal. Also, only had 1 less pass attempted than Ziyech, who obviously came on 10 minutes earlier, and had 3 less passes attempted than Sterling. So there wasn't too much in it. And I feel like probably half of his passes came in literally the move that led to his own goal because there was quite quick passing between 3 of the guys, like a touchdown. Good finish. Tough to give a rating, I guess. So shall we just give him a goal emoji? Because he was on the pitch for less than barely 10 minutes. Not really much to rate, but he scored. So everybody okay with that? Or obviously you can talk about how well you thought he did for the goal, but in terms of rating, it's difficult. Okay, he basically did one thing and that's it. But are we going to rate one thing?
He didn't hit the guy in front of him, bro. Do you understand how much I used to criticize?
Hence why I'm giving him a whole goal emoji. Bro. Usually people get poo emojis. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, bro. Oh my god. Like I was shocked, bro. Like I was like, generally, he's gonna hit the guy. Bam! It went back in the goal. So whoa, he actually scored. I'm like, he actually did not hit the guy in front of him. This is a miracle at this point because all season he would do all the freaking hard work and then freaking hit the guy in front of him. And I'm like,
or the keeper.
This is why people are going to criticize you. Like they're going to criticize you because you're not finishing your chances. But today came on, good showing of himself in that moment, good combination, got himself in the right area in the box and took his chance. Well done, man. There's nothing else I can say.
There you go. No, fair enough. Fair enough. Pies. Obviously, if you really want, I mean, Santiago proves it a goal emoji. I mean, Mo was saying he either hits the defender. I said, or the goalkeeper. Santiago said, or the post. It's true. That's most of what Felix did other than scoring. But today, that goal was a well-taken goal, wasn't it, Pies?
Yeah, it was. I don't think you can really give him a rating. He was on like 6 minutes, I think I saw.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like he got like 2 out of 2 dribbles or something like that. You know, he literally just got the goal. It was a well-taken finish. Very calm finish as well. You know, it was just, you know, very calm. What we like to see. It's been a bit inconsistent in terms of finishing, but, you know, Yeah, I think we should, try and fit him in next season, try a loan or something. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens when Pochettino comes. But yeah, I just think he's got that.
Just put it down to Poch. Honestly, I don't like. There's pros to keeping him. There's cons to keeping him. I would most certainly only do a loan, not buy him straight up now. But just
I mean,
if Poch has an idea how to use him, do. If Poch is like, I'm not really sure how to fit him in, then don't. That's how I do it, honestly.
Yeah, in my tweet I said like Pochettino should sign him, but like obviously loan as well is the preferred option, because I do think it's a lot of money, but he's such a talented player and he's still so young as well. Like, and I feel like people get on him like for his like missed chances or whatever, or poor decisions, but then like for Mudryk or Madueke or stuff, they're like, oh, don't worry, they'll develop. But it's not the same for Felix. I don't know why. So yeah,
I think just because he's been around the block a lot longer than those guys in terms of like the type of football they've been playing. And you're absolutely right. The guy's a talented
player. Had a transfer fee of
€126
126 million paid for him, 4 years ago?
That's true. That's true.
No, and like I said, not right now as this super young 19-year-old. No, 4 years ago, and he basically arguably got worse since leaving Benfica. So that's probably where it comes from. But if he was on the pitch for long enough today to get a rating, I would deduct points for his celebration. Bro, you've been shit. What do you mean showing your name? Get in the bin. What is that? Absolutely unacceptable behavior. Sorry. You do one good thing in 15 games and you're like, oh, fuck off. That's what pissed me off again. I was like,
he's just reminding people, man. He's letting them know, hey, man, I'm still here. I'm still here.
Reminding me of what? That you for once didn't hit the post. Fucking brilliant.
Reminding you that he's a baller, bro. That's what he's reminding you.
He's a baller, man. Honestly, he's the type of player that, bro. I'm willing to show patience.
He plays like a baller. Do you know what I mean? Not after being dreadful.
He plays like a baller all the time, bro. He just doesn't score.
Right now, Lampard.
For the last 2 months, he hasn't even played like a ball. Like since that win at Leicester, he hasn't even played good. Let alone not had the output.
Well, he's been on the bench the last 5 games, so. He's been on the bench the last 5 games, so he hasn't really had a chance to show anything.
Exactly, so he can't even be a baller in training, otherwise that wouldn't have happened.
Lampard just wants passion, bro. That's what he wants.
Lampard is saying he doesn't run enough, mate. What's the point in running if you're not smart on the ball as well? Like,
yeah, but what's the point in being good on the ball if you're not running?
Picking Gallagher over Felix, bro. Like, it doesn't even make sense.
No, that's true. But like I say, at the same time, what's the point of being good on the ball if you don't run?
No, I hear what you're saying, but sometimes, like, okay, let's put it this way, right? Christian Eriksen, I've never really known him as a runner. Like, he's never been that type of guy. Oh, great presser, great this. No, but what you did know him for is what he could do with the ball. And for me, I look at Felix and I'm like, what he's good on the ball, if we can accommodate for it as a team, then I'm willing to do so. But he definitely needs a bit of coaching in the sense that there are moments when he could be picking up better passes and he's taking shots. And I'm like, yo, I don't accept this from Mason Mount. I'm not accepting this from you. That there's no double standards in that sense. But when he does the hard work, there are moments, bro, he created chances out of thin air. But because he hit the guy in front of him, people are losing them. I'm like, guys, we wouldn't even have created the chance if he didn't create it.
He didn't create chances. He just created chances for himself. How often did he create anything for anyone else?
What I'm saying is, look, if we teach him, continue creating chances, but if there's someone in a better position than you, make the damn pass. That's all we need to teach him.
Compare Felix to Messi. Get yourself in the naughty corner. Like, go back there and never come back. Like, what are you doing? Compare him to Messi. Come on now. If he was as good as Messi, it's okay that he doesn't press. But he's not as good as Messi. Also, he's 24. You know, Messi,
do you not think
he's 35.
Do you not think that Poch will get something out of him, though? Like, I feel like we loan him in, allow him to play under Poch. I think we could generally get a lot out of him.
I fear that he won't work hard enough for Poch to even want him.
Oh, then Poch is just not going to play him, and that's fine. If
and that's why if you're not going to play him, don't loan him, because why spend? Like, we paid 11 million for a 6-month loan, so next a season loan probably costs us 20 mil. So if you're paying 20 mil for one season, then you better use the guy. So if you're not going to use him, don't get it. Is my logic.
But we can't. So say, for example, the profile that we're searching for in what he is, who would we find for 20 million? Like, to me, 20 million. It's a bite that you're willing to take to see if this player works within what the setup it is that you're trying to do. If he doesn't,
I
then
agree.
You don't make the further investment.
So if the manager agrees with you, I back it. But if Poch is like, well, I don't really know where to fit him in, then what's the point?
Yeah. I wouldn't force him on the manager. I think at the end of the day, if Poch is coming in, I'd like to see him be used by Poch because I do think he can get something out of him. I've seen him get a lot more out of players, a lot less talented than this guy. So I don't doubt the player.
So if he can make him be, work harder and be more clinical, even better. But one guy, even though he was alongside Sterling the first sub, we haven't touched on yet. My good friend Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Shout out Ruben, finally got some minutes on a Frank Lampard. A whole 27 minutes of them. Isn't that crazy? Plus extra time, injury time. Unlike Mudryk, Ruben was actually playing in a position where I'm gonna, give him a little bit of credit for having 15 out of 16 passes completed. So good, well done, 94% pass completion. A successful dribble, and only one attempted. A successful tackle, only one attempted. Ground duels, 2 out of 4. All right. Air duels, 1 out of 1. All right. I think it was very safe. It didn't really do much special. So I would just give him a 6. Would you agree, Mo?
Yeah. I'm not even going to add anything else. I think he came in, did the job that he needed to do, nothing more.
Didn't do anything wrong, didn't do anything special. So
yeah.
There you go. Pice, you in agreement with that as well, or was there anything that stood out to you that Ruben did?
No, not really. Nice to see him on the pitch. I mean, just had little flashbacks of him as number 8 and 4-3-3 under Sarri, but
yeah, when he came on Kante, I was like, oh.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I like Ruben as a player. I think he'll probably move on this summer, but I think he's good. He does.
If he goes to Milan, I'm gonna watch every Milan game next season. Tell you that much.
Well, honestly, like you see Giroud as well. Giroud was like, I want Pulisic in Milan, like kind of like a little Chelsea reunion here. Like.
Yeah, exactly. I like Milan anyway. Milan is like kind of my soft spot team in Italy. Now, Sarri kind of made that a little bit to be Napoli, and Kvaradona, I'm a big fan of him, but yeah, still mainly AC Milan. All right, let's finish it off, boys.
Not Inter, you sure? Not Lukaku's Inter, you sure?
Nah, but actually, I can't even blame Lukaku for disliking Inter. I disliked Inter even before Jose went there, and even Jose couldn't make me like Inter. And you know how much I love Jose. So if even Jose can't make me like, other than Spurs,
nobody can.
Like everyone but Jose win. And Jose's at Roma now. I hope Roma win all the time, and Tammy as well. But yeah, here we are. Let's finish it off with a rating for Frank Lampard. Lineup. Pretty good, outside of maybe not having Chukwuemeka on the bench. I was pretty happy with that. Subs, I might have disagreed with at the time, but the 3 forward ones worked, and Ruben didn't make anything worse. So, well done. I'm not happy with Aspie coming on rather than Lewis Hall. I just gave Aspie an NA. Like, the guy had 10 touches and attempted 3 passes, completed 2 of them. So, like, it doesn't scream more NA than that. But yeah, that annoyed me a little bit that it wasn't Lewis Hall that was picked. But at the end of the day, the lineup was decent, the subs worked, and he finally won a game. So, because he didn't quite get to 7 losses out of 7, he gets a 7 in a rating. How about that? Would you agree, Pice?
Sorry, well,
I said because he didn't make it to 7 losses in 7, he gets a 7.
I mean, yeah, maybe. Yeah. I mean,
I could do anything between a 5 and an 8, and everything would somehow be justifiable.
I think I can't question him for the subs. The lineup was good. Yeah, I mean, we played all right. We played better than Arsenal, but
much better. It was. Wouldn't you guys agree that it was our best league performance since Frank took over?
I mean, yeah, we won. So
no, but even outside of the result, I think performance-wise, it was the best of those games.
It was, yeah.
I
hated all the other games, so 100%.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, but I mean, obviously, if you want to go lower, Pice, go lower. I'm doing 7. You can do whatever you want.
No, I think it's fair. We won 3-1. The subs and lineup were decent. We played all right, so it seems like a decent middle ground.
Very good. Very nice. Mo, would you agree as well, even if it's partly for the banner of him not getting to 7 losses in 7 games?
Hey, man, I can't disagree. I think you stated as a valid point. And just to let you know also, unrelated, but it's still within regards to Lampard, in the post-conference after the match, he basically confirmed that Chilwell's injury is a hamstring, and he said it would be an issue for the remaining of the campaign, but they're not entirely sure how bad it is just yet. So, hey, man, Lewis Hall, get ready, brother. Huh?
Yeah. The 3 weeks we have left, right?
Yeah.
3 weeks, 4 games. So
hey man, I think we've secured our safety now, and I think it's a great time as any. Lewis Hall, man.
yeah,
Let's give him
exactly. Safety is secure. Just play Lewis Hall. You should have played him anyway. But now he's forced, the injury.
You know what he said? I was going to read something out actually. Lampard said in the press conference, like he was asked about playing younger players, and he said like, my role now is to try and give these players minutes. Like, bro, your role was that since you came in. Like, were you just trying to get a win before you did that? Like,
I guess mathematical safety. I'm still very intrigued whether now the Poch announcement comes very soon, because obviously we were touching on this the other day, where it's like the only logic I can see in not having announced that already and not having gone to a final agreement is just the wait for be mathematically safe. But yeah, this is what it is. My role now is to try and give these players minutes, but also as much as there's that, I have to work with all the other players. Noni's performance on Tuesday gets him in the team today. We all saw Benoit today. It's pretty clear he's a big talent. Well, yeah, Frank, we all knew that. It's just you that seem to not.
Exactly. I mean? You didn't acknowledge that, bro. Like, we know better.
You were the one not picking him. We all wanted you to pick him all the time, mate. The same goes for Madueke. The same goes for Mudryk. But you keep playing the other people. This is you, not us.
And we know how big of a talent Chukwuemeka is. So when he plays, if he does play, he's going to play well, and then we're going to tweet, Frank, look, we saw Chukwuemeka's stats today. Like, just like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, so annoying.
Oh, we moved up to 11th today.
Get him.
What a freaking miracle, guys! The day is just getting better at this point, man. I don't know what else to do right now.
Fucking one, bro. Like, no more depression for a week. Like,
yes, exactly. And this is amazing. So now that we finally won a game, I'm well happy that we don't have a midweek game. No problem. I'm a ride on this wave for a whole week. I'm buzzing. Give me Poch midweek, Monday, Tuesday. I'm ready for it. Do you know what I mean? I'm happy. Like
I just need an Arsenal loss tomorrow to Newcastle.
Is it to think about? Today's May 6th, and this is our first win since March 11th. That's insane.
Oh my god, we've been suffering, bro.
But hey, better late than never, I guess. Better late. Imagine we went the actual. I was fully prepared for it, by the way. But imagine we went until the very end of the season without getting a single other win, without getting a single other point. I was fully ready for us to lose every game, honestly. Maybe we now beat Forest as well. Send them down back to the Championship, be miserable with their 50 signings. Oh, quite funny. Even though a mate of mine supports Forest, but he also supports Man United, so that pisses me off. You can't support two clubs in the same fucking league. That's how I'd thought of that. Do you know what I mean? Got to pick one. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to round this one out. Thank you very, very much for tuning in. Finally, we won a game. 3 points, 3 goals, saved from relegation. What a day. Absolutely wonderful. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy it. Qualifying tonight. If any one of you is into F1, can't wait for Ferrari to have dreadful time away tomorrow. Can't wait. But anyway, for now, I'm a bit buzzing. Please do check out Pice's website, londonsfirst.com. Check out Mo on Twitter. As you can see, his handle on the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards, and we'll see you.
Up the Chelsea.